you, sir.
We will now begin the City of Boynton Beach City Commissioner meeting today, Tuesday, January 7th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Would everyone please rise for invocation from Bernard Wright of Bernard Wright Ministries, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Mac McCrae.
Father, we give you praise, we give you honor, we give you glory. We thank you for life today, for being here today, for everyone's attendance today. We first and foremost want to lift up our president according to Scripture, and all those that are in authority, that you would give them wisdom to make the right decisions and the right choices regarding the lives of those they govern and lead. We pray for all the attendants and everyone in Boynton and the world over. We say Godspeed to them. We ask that you would bless them and meet them all at their point of need. In Jesus' name, we pray for our health today, for our children, the sick, suffering, the orphans, the fatherless, the strangers, the addicts, the alcoholics, all the prisoners and our brethren, for a better Boynton, a better life in every area of our lives as we operate today in 2020 in a prophetic spirit of better. To God be the glory. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen, amen, and amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Stephen B. Grant,
I am here.
Vice Mayor Justin Katz,
Here.
Commissioner Matt McCrae,
Here.
Commissioner Christina Romulus,
Present.
Commissioner Typhon Serga.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? For myself, I'd like to add two announcements. One's regarding the Census job fair, and also we have a speaker from the Village Royale on the Green. Is there anything else?
Mayor, you can remove item 5B from the agenda.
Okay. Hearing no more additions, deletions, or corrections, may I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Informational items by members of the City Commission. Commissioner Pensurga, would you like to begin?
Sure. I want to wish everybody a happy new year. We're going to have many exciting things happening to the city in 2020. I'm looking forward to it, and I have no disclosures at this time.
All right. Commissioner Romulus.
I want to wish everyone a happy new year and welcome to our first meeting of the decade. And it is exciting to be here, and we're looking again, as my counterpart mentioned, that a lot of the things that are happening in 2020 are going to be exciting and really putting Boynton Beach on the map for this year in 2020. So excited for that. Happy New Year, everyone.
Commissioner McCrae.
Thank you. Might as well keep the ball rolling. Happy New Year, everyone. And say thank you for coming to our first 5:30 meeting. I'd like to say to city staff and also the citizens who had anything to do with the flowers that was given for my brother during his passing. Thank you. They was lovely. I should have taken a picture. The family was very respectful of those, and thank you, and I love each of you. Thank you for your sympathy cards. Thank you for your prayers, but most of all, thank you for just loving on me. Thank you.
All right. Vice Mayor.
Nothing to disclose, and Happy New Year to everyone.
All right. For myself, on December 18th, I went to Chick-fil-A for coffee with a cop. I wish that everyone had a delightful Christmas, that they got to share it with the loved ones. And also on the 29th, I was at the mall for the 25th Hanukkah lighting with a kabod. On January 2nd, I attended the Business Over Coffee. And this past Monday, I did a City Hall tour. I want to thank Colin for showing me around. It's extremely exciting to see what's going on. And then also, I want to wish everyone also happy 2020. And I think it's a year of vision to provide clarity so we can focus on our actions to reach our goals. And I want to remind everybody that, yes, you do need to say and put 2020, because otherwise it can be anywhere from 2000 to 2099 on a document. So, and I did speak with Christopher Noble of Washington Prime Group. Is there any further informational items by the board? Seeing none, moving on to announcements. Our first is the City of Boynton Beach Water Utility will be temporarily changing its water treatment disinfection process to free chlorination beginning January 11th through January 31st. Do we have someone from the water utility to speak about this?
Michael Lowe, Deputy Director and Manager of Technical Services for the utility. Yeah, this is our routine annual free chlorination period that will commence next week. This is in order to ensure that the pipes, etc., are clean and we have the best quality water for the rest of the year. During this period, people will notice a slight change in the odor. They'll smell a slight chlorine smell. There's no problem with that. It's just a different way of doing it. It's slightly more aggressive type of treatment to ensure that we clear the pipelines. There will be utilities personnel working throughout the distribution system, flushing through the fire hydrants and testing the water to ensure that we get this new treatment process throughout the whole distribution system to ensure that everybody gets the same and best quality water from us.
Mayor,
Yes.
thank you. Channel 12 ran this article, I think it was a week after Christmas, and I'm trying to find out why was it ran so far ahead, and it's going to be happening January the 11th. You know, we need to...
There's a requirement under the Florida statutes for us to publish in the press so many days in advance of the event. And so because that was in the newspapers, then they picked up on the item.
All right, let me ask another question. Will it be published again? I'm just saying, will they say it right around January the 11th, just in case people of your age and my age might have forgotten? I hope so.
We will talk with Eleanor and the team so that we can ensure that this will go out on our
press releases.
On our
Thank you.
systems.
Thank
Yes, it's going to be republished.
Thank you.
And this is a requirement, I always like to remind her, it's a requirement of our consumptive use permit to operate our utility for us to do the superchlorination once a year. So that's why we get to have to do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next announcement is proclaim January 12, 2020 as Haitian Earthquake Memorial Day. Jane Marcel will accept the proclamation. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas on January 12, 2010 at 5:43 p.m., the worst earthquake in 200 years hit Haiti and caused a widespread devastation across the country. The earthquake resulted in not only the loss of buildings but killed more than 300,000 people and left more than 1.5 million homeless. And whereas the earthquake in Haiti not only affected the lives of those living in Haiti, it also had an impact on residents of the city, state, and country. And whereas on this day we remember and honor those who perished in the earthquake of January 12, 2010, we will not forget the horrific day, nor will we forget how the American people and the world responded with compassion and generosity, prayer, and hope for the Haitian people. Our obligation to ensure a better Haiti will not be forgotten. And whereas this anniversary of tragedy should also be an anniversary of triumph of unity over divisiveness, love over hate, service over selfishness, and hope over despair. Whereas we should demonstrate our respect for the victims of this terrible day by commemorating the lives lost and damage caused. We should also honor and celebrate the acts of resilience, courage, compassion, and many other qualities that represent the best in human nature and the Haitian character. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim January 12, 2020 as Haitian Earthquake Memorial Day.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, I don't believe Jane Marcel is here, but I do want to publicly thank you for the proclamation as well as agreeing to offer this proclamation to the National Haitian American Elected Officials Network, which will be convening this weekend for their annual conference, which also happens to fall on January 12th, that Sunday, which will be the 10th year anniversary of this earthquake, and you'll be presenting it there. So I thank you for that in advance on their behalf as well.
My pleasure. Our next announcement is by Recreation and Parks Director Wally Majors about the 5th Annual Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital Magic Wheels and Special Deals event and the 8th Annual Barrier-Free 5K Run, Walk, and Roll event.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners, and as the Mayor stated, I'm very, very proud to announce that on February 6th, we are hosting our 5th annual Magic Wheels and Special Deals event, which this year, Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital will be joining us as the named sponsor, which is very exciting because the event has really become a very popular activity here in the city. And for those of you who haven't attended before, it features, I believe we already have 28 local vendors and organizations that support and provide services to individuals with special needs. And the highlight of the evening is the unveiling of the Magic Wheelchair. And this year there's a young boy named Amir. Amir has cerebral palsy, and we're very excited that he'll be taking part in the event this year. And February 8th, which is the following Saturday, Amir will be the honorary starter of the 8th annual Barrier-Free Park Run, Walk, and Roll event. We refer to it as a run, walk, and roll event because we invite everybody to participate regardless of what shape or how much of an athlete you are, whereby as long as you want to come out there and enjoy it. The run goes through the Hunters Run community. It starts and ends at Barrier-Free Park, and it's always a very fun event. So we hope you can all join us. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Next, we will proclaim Monday, January 20th, 2020 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Is Greg Murphy here? City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union, and Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities. And whereas the King Holiday and Service Act enacted in 1994 designated the King Holiday as a National Day of Voluntary Service and charged the Corporation for National and Community Service with leading this effort. And since 1994, millions of Americans have been inspired by the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to serve their neighborhoods and communities on the King Holiday. And whereas serving on the King Holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, meet local and national needs, bring our citizens together, and strengthen our communities and nation. And the King Day of Service is the only federal holiday commemorated as a National Day of Service and offers an opportunity for Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and make an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better with increased opportunity for all of our citizens. And to celebrate the King Day of Service, January 20th, 2020. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the 20th day of January 2020 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. I will not accept that proclamation. I'm just saying because there's a lot of more people here that can stand up and accept this proclamation, but I will say to you all, thank you for recognizing Dr. King for the work that he did, not only in the United States of America, but all over the world. I'm just saying the lives that he's touched. I read books and they said that they're still quoting things that Dr. King said, and he was a brilliant man, and I'm glad that we're doing something to live on. What I would say will be said after Eleanor Cassell make her presentation in regards to the meeting that was going on. But thank you for the proclamation, and thank you to the City of Boynton. Thank you.
All right. Eleanor, we have an announcement regarding our 2020 Martin Luther King Jr. celebration.
Good evening, Eleanor Crisell, Marketing Director. I'm happy to announce that we have the Boynton Beach Reverend Dr. MLK Jr. celebration happening on Monday, January 20th from 12 noon to 4 p.m. at Sarah Sims Park for the first time, 209 Northwest 9th Avenue. And we encourage everyone to bring the family, and we'll have a lot of fun activities. I just want to highlight a few of the new things that we've done and want to thank our first meeting last Thursday. We had 32 people from the community attend the meeting, interested in helping us produce the event. So we were very, very happy that the community is supporting this national holiday and Martin Luther King. So new this year, we have a vendor row where we've asked community organizations such as Healthier Boynton Beach, the Mental Health Department, Feeding South Florida, etc., to come and showcase the activities that the community may not or do know about or could utilize. So we have a vendor row. I do want to at this time thank our churches that came to this. We have many, many different religions that came into this one room to help us plan the event. And of special interest was our Christ Fellowship Church, who is donating 500 hot dogs, hamburgers, potato chips, and ice cream sandwiches for those that attend. So a big shout out to them. Calvary Church is providing a gospel group and dancers. And I hope with all the hard work that the committee's doing that you'll come out and join us that day. Thank you so much. Flyers are at the door. Please pick them up and distribute them. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to make my comment now. Ellen, I want to tell you thank you for reaching out to the community, because at the last meeting I was getting calls from individuals saying that what's happening with the MLK celebration, nobody's reaching out to the community. I want to tell you all thank you for reaching out not only to the community but for the entire city. This is a citywide event at a citywide park, and I want to tell you all thank you. And those that came out and participated, I want to tell them thank you for coming out, because after all, we don't want to let Dr. King's dream die. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. All right. Our next is a certificate of achievement to Antoinette Thompson, a recent career online high school graduate that earned her high school diploma from the library's online program. Are you here?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Happy New Year, everyone.
But no, into
the microphone, please.
Into the microphone. Otherwise, we don't hear you.
Happy New Year, everyone. I am so
Antoinette,
over.
you gotta face us and speak to face us, and they will hear it. Otherwise,
Yes. I just want to say thank you to the library, the Boynton Beach Library, for giving me this opportunity to one more step up the ladder in my career. I am a mother of one, working, and it was so hard coming here in United States from Jamaica, starting all over. And I felt lost, and one day I stopped by the library and I saw a voucher, and I'm like, you know what? I've tried so many universities with my high school diploma back home, and I wasn't getting into the career of my choice. And I saw the voucher and I said, okay, let me try the library high school career online. And I applied, and these wonderful people over there helped me to acquire the next step in my life, which is a diploma to move on into early childhood. I am a teacher assistant at Palm Beach School for Autism. I've been doing this from 2006, and I see where my life with these kids gonna be successful. Thank you so much. And I just want to encourage anyone out there who know anyone who want to give up on their life because they cannot get into the university or college of their choice. Check out the library in Boynton Beach, please. Thank you.
Antoinette, don't go. Antoinette, hello. Antoinette, don't go. Antoinette, you need to come back, please.
we still want to talk to you. Commissioner Pensurga.
Commissioner, we can go first. I have a question for staff, actually.
Okay.
Thank you. Antoinette, I want to first say thank you and congratulations. Although the mayor requested that you turn around and face us, if you had been in a class in speech at a university, they would have given you an A because you have to engage your audience. Thank you. You didn't do
You're
anything
welcome.
wrong.
Thank you. All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Mayor, if it's all right with you, I'd like for one of our staff members from the library to come up and just tell the public what exactly is this program about. How do we get involved so we can help spread the word about this?
Hi, Jeannie Taylor with the Boynton Beach City Library. So our Career Online High School is a program where we allow adults, you have to be over 19, to work on their high school diploma. They can transfer in credits if they've had some previous high school. We bring them in with a prerequisite class in a career certificate. There's several that they can choose from, and they start working on that. That shows us and them if this online program is something that they can do. They can do it at home or they can do it at the library, and they can make it fit their schedule. So once they get through that prerequisite, we interview them for a scholarship. And the scholarship gives them 18 months to finish a high school diploma. And that pace is generally a class every 2 weeks. So they have to put in the time and the effort to do that. But our really dedicated students do that. They want that for themselves, for their lives, for their future, and we encourage them. They get a lot of help online. They have an academic coach, and they can have tutors in specific subjects as they're working through that program. So,
And Janine, what is the cost to the student?
the student doesn't have to pay anything. We give them a scholarship, and we have scholarships available for people who live in the city of Boynton Beach.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Jeannie, while you're up there, I saw that you had a bag with you.
I did. I was going to do this at public audience, but I wanted to remind everybody that January and February, the library always has an adult reading club. It's really simple. You just need a library card. Come sign up at the library. You agree to read 10 things. We don't care what 10 things you read. And then your reward, which is paid for by our friends of the library, is this lovely bag. And our lovely bag is premiering our new library logo, which we're very excited about. Our library logo, as you can see, has a reference to a Wi-Fi symbol, because we want you to know that the library connects you to the world.
All right, thank you.
Jeannie, tell her to take your picture without that strap in front of that new logo, because they think it's another line going across.
Next, we have a general election proclamation for March 17th, 2020, presented by myself. Proclamation. I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim that a general election will be held in the City of Boynton Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, on the 17th day of March 2020, to elect one commissioner from District 2 and one commissioner from District 4 to serve a 3-year term expiring in March 2023. The voting hours are between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on said date. Polling places are hereby designated as follows. Precinct 3136, Freedom Shores Elementary School, 3400 Hypoluxo Road. Precinct 3138, Citrus Cove Elementary School, 8400 Lawrence Road. Precinct 3140 and Precinct 3142, Boynton Lakes North Clubhouse, 100 Redford Drive. Precinct 3146, Discovery Village at Boynton Beach, 4735 Northwest 7th Court. Precinct 3164, Citrus Cove Elementary School, 8400 Lawrence Road. Precinct 3168, Boynton Beach Fire Station Number 3, 3501 North Congress Avenue. Precinct 3172, Boynton Beach High School, 4975 Park Ridge Boulevard. Precinct 3174, Boynton Beach Fire Station Number 3, 3501 North Congress Avenue. Precinct 3176, Boynton Beach High School, 4975 Park Ridge Boulevard. Precinct 3182, Imagine Schools Chancellor Campus, 3333 High Ridge Road. Precinct 3188, Christ Fellowship Church, 801 North Congress Avenue. Precinct 3190, Imagine Schools, Chancellor Campus, 3333 High Ridge Road. Precinct 4024, Harvey Oyer Jr. Park, U.S. Highway 1 and Northeast 21st Avenue. Precinct 7178, Temple Beth Kodesh, 501 Northeast 26th Avenue. Precinct 7179, Village Royale on the Green, 2501 Northeast 1st Court. Precinct 7180, St. John's Missionary Baptist Church, 900 North Seacrest Boulevard. Precinct 7182, Carolyn Sims Center, 225 Northwest 12th Avenue. Precinct 7184, St. John Missionary Baptist Church, 900 North Seacrest Boulevard. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida, to be affixed at Boynton Beach, Florida, the 7th day of January, 2020. And good luck to all the candidates. Next, we have an announcement from John Durgan regarding our Census job fair.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commission. John Durgan, Economic Development Specialist with the City of Boynton Beach. Just wanted to announce that the city has partnered with Pathways to Prosperity and Healthier Boynton Beach to host a job fair tomorrow. That's Wednesday, January 8th, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. in our Ezell Hester Center to host a 2020 Census job fair. We have partnered with the Census to bring in Census recruiters to the Ezell Hester Center to help applicants apply for temporary positions with the 2020 Census. We were told that the Census has to hire 253 applicants in the city of Boynton Beach alone. So we thought it'd be a great opportunity to get individuals to a central location to fill out those applications and have Census recruiters on site to help them with that process and to answer any questions they may have. So that's, again, tomorrow, Wednesday, January 8th, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at our Ezell Hester Community Center.
And it pays $17.50 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a nice temporary job.
Paid training as well as car reimbursement.
John, I'd like to say that that announcement was blasted out by St. John Missionary Baptist Church, so the word is getting out.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And also, we have a representative from the Village Royale on the Green to present, I believe, some money.
Jackie Mataragas, 2620 Village Royal on the Green. It is good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here to present with great honor and privilege 2 checks, one to the Fire Department and one to the Police Department from Village Royal on the Green. And if it was $1 million, I'd give it to them for their dedication of everything they do, the Fire Department and the Police Department. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jackie, Village Royale on the Green is located in what district?
I'm sorry, District 2?
Thank you.
Mr. McCrae, Commissioner McCrae.
All right. Chiefs, do you mind doing a photo op to accept the checks?
Please.
Please.
See, I told you we was the best district.
Chief Petty. Thank you.
Hey, Jackie, you forgot to tell them how much the checks was for the audience.
Oh, $1 million.
Thank you.
And Jackie,
Jackie.
for the education of the public, Jackie, could you come back to the microphone, please?
Making you work.
I just want you to share, how many years has Village Royale on the Green been doing this for the city?
Well, I've been there 26 years. So before that, I'm not sure, but for 26 years, for sure, because I've been there 26 years.
That's tremendous. Thank you so much.
Great honor and a privilege for the Fire Department and the Police Department. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When I see that Greg Murphy walked in, I'd like to hand you the proclamation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We are moving on to public audience. Individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Karen Yeho, 1305 Via de Pepe, Boynton Beach, Florida 33426. Sometime in the evening of December 23rd, I was served with this foreclosure from City of Boynton Beach on the liens on the property. And I look at the liens on the property. The liens on the property was about vegetation. My building did not have any vegetation. It was the City of Boynton Beach from the side of the building that has the vegetation, and then for the East Coast have vegetation. So the lien was filed against my property for City of Boynton Beach not able to take care of the property. And there were only 3 liens, so that means I have maintained the properties, and the City of Boynton Beach did not. So I would like city commissioners and to take a look at the map of my property, because there's a $2,000 court fee that was filed for foreclosure on my property. And a few months back, last year, we have proposed to sell the property to City of Boynton Beach for $140,000, and the City of Boynton Beach was not want to buy for $140,000, but now using foreclosure, want to take over my property for free because there's no mortgage on the property. We have property. We pay off clear. And another thing is that we have hired a professional civil engineer to do the drawing, look at the building, and we hire architect to renovate the building, because the building code is that if we knock down the building, we cannot have anything built on. So at this point in time, we have spent money on the professional civil engineer and also architect to do the drawing. So I do not understand why we have a liens on the property for the City of Boynton Beach did not mow the lawn, and every time they make a big mess, such as currently digging up the ground and putting electrical wires, and then few days later, I'm going to say, I'm not taking care of the property from the code enforcement. Please check into that, please. I had to reply to the service that served me on December 23rd, put me in a lot of emotional distress, because it's like 2 days before Christmas. You know, you've been served for foreclosure on your property without mortgage, okay? And so City of Boynton Beach want my property free and clear by making up liens. Any questions?
Nope, I don't see any questions.
Yeah, and I don't see anything vote on to sue me for foreclosing on my property. City of Boynton Beach files lawsuit on 1101 North Federal Highway, 1102 North Federal Highway, and 1103 North Federal Highway. So please check into that. Why is this happening? Each lawsuit costs City of Boynton Beach over $2,000. Thank you.
All right. We set the clock for 3 minutes.
Set.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. For the record, Mark Rickards, Kimley Horn, 1615 South Congress, Delray Beach, 33445. Here on behalf of Josie's Restaurant, which is at Riverwalk Shopping Center. They've been a tenant there since 1993, and there have been ongoing construction efforts going on, started in 2016 and 17, that have lingered. What a restaurant, any retailer really needs is visibility and parking. The issue really is about parking, the ability to find parking if you're going to be a patron of the restaurant. There's very limited parking in terms of it being safe and convenient and accessible, and some folks don't even realize Josie's is still open. Our understanding, and we've communicated this to the owner, our understanding is there's going to be a resubmittal that clarifies a few things and changes a few things on the site plan. I don't believe it's going to make its way to a public hearing, so our hope
is that the resubmittal addresses some of these concerns. We just want to bring it to the attention of the commission, and we hope that there is a safe and effective solution that protects Josie's and also allows for redevelopment of that shopping center. Thank you.
Thank you. I was in that shopping plaza over the holiday week, and I was at Bond Street, and people were parking along the fence. I don't necessarily know what is in place right now with the parking, but it's something that I believe there is a contingency that we put in place when we approved it regarding the parking, and so we need to make sure that there is access for the fire trucks to get to all the locations, and I'd like to see that brought back to us so that we can see, even though we may not be able to vote on it as it is a site plan amendment, that doesn't mean that we can't hear about it, what is approved by our staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Mayor, I just wanted to say that I was at the Josie's location a few days ago, and I toured around the whole plaza, and I noticed that some of the construction equipment were taking up multiple parking spaces when they could easily be squeezed into 1 or 2 parking spaces. And so, yes, there's multiple ways to go about this, but the very simple path forward to get results today is really to reach out to the landlord and ask them, maybe move some of this equipment and find a more efficient way to pack it or organize it around the plaza. A lot more spaces could be available if they just move some things around.
And is that legal for our community standards to have those types of construction taking up
Right.
customers' parking spaces?
So we don't have any standards we don't have any code that addresses that issue.
Okay.
Our codes address the finished product and what they have to do during construction, such as sediment controls and site controls, and to make sure there's construction materials not spilling off the site. Again, that was a good recommendation. The real recommendation is the owner of the site. All these people are tenants of the owner, and they need to approach the owner, and the owner will work it out if the owner chooses to. Again, it's really a private property matter more than it is a city matter. If we do, the community standards can get involved if there's something that does violate our code as far as construction sites, like they're not cleaning up the debris, or we've had some comments about the sand blowing and some debris, and we've talked to them, and there's some things they have done to correct it, but there's only so far we can go on the site, because it is a private site and they are under construction.
And so that's the concern that I have, is that we say, they say that there's so many parking available to get their certificate of occupancy, and that's parking being used by construction equipment.
Well, during construction, they can use the site for construction.
Okay.
We're trying to figure out how to check to make sure that how many open businesses are there, what are those parking requirements based on both the parking standards for that business, or the challenge the city has, we can only enforce what the parking standards are for that business. And if their lease does not have enough parking in it, then the city really has to cite the business owner for not having enough parking, not the landowner. Okay. So it's kind of a catch-22, because it's the business, it's really a landlord leasee.
Okay.
That's really where it comes. What we're trying to do is to make sure we protect the public outside the site, and that's really what our job is. Okay. So it's it's one of these gray areas where we're going to do the best we can. We work with the owner every day. We're out there. Our staff is out there, and we work with them, and they make changes if we've asked them to. So we do ask them, but we can't demand some things. So I guess that's the fine line.
Okay.
And we'll reach out again, Mayor.
Right, we'll reach out again. Right.
Board Member McCray.
Thank you, Commissioner McCray.
Yes. Sorry, it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Collins, I'm going to say it's really not a gray area. I'm just saying, we have a complaint now that's been brought to this city. It's a gray area. When we approved this, we approved it in good faith. They said they was going to do things in good faith, and let them know that they're not doing things not in good faith. It's not a gray area. Let them know that they brought it to this commission that voted for that project, and that we are concerned now. The gray area is gone. We're concerned about the people who has businesses. We don't want them to go out of business. Thank you.
Commissioner Pensurga.
I just wanted to add that I understand that this is a private matter, but my concern here is that it's a public space. And so, although it's a private issue, I frequent these restaurants often. I'm there at Sushi Simon and Bond and also Josie's, and I don't want to get into an accident, and that's what I'm concerned about. I don't want to go in these restaurants and a part of the ceiling caves over. So, if there's anything we can do, even if it's not legal, but just to reach out
No, we want to do legal things. We don't, no, we do.
Ideally.
We do legal
You know what I
things
mean,
here.
exactly. So ideally, we'll go that route, but even if not, there are still things that we can do in terms of communicating and reaching out, so.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comments from the commission? Seeing none.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Sedekassi, and I'm the owner of Josie's. I'm here with my husband, Steve, and we're at 1602 South Federal Highway, Boynton Beach. I just want to reiterate what Mark just was discussing. As far as reaching out to the landlord, we have done that multiple times, and it goes nowhere. They have no concern at all for any of the businesses over there or anyone's safety. If you count up the spots that are there right now, there's about 228 spots. If you count up how many employees the restaurants have and Walgreens, it exceeds that in season, because we asked everybody what your seat count was and your highest employee count was at peak season. And when they start this construction, it's going to be a disaster, because they're going to be removing parking spaces that we're currently using along the Intracoastal Waterway. And as the commissioner stated, he was down there, he saw certain things over there as far as, they're taking up valuable parking spaces in the plaza that they don't need to. In the southeast corner of the plaza, it's mostly vacant, and construction debris and material and tractors and mulch and fencing is just strewn around the plaza everywhere, when it could be easily consolidated in one area and make the whole parking lot safer for everybody. And we keep asking the landlord to do this as far as other things, like there's sand all over the parking lot, and from the construction vehicles, it's delineated all the markings. We asked them, just a can of spray paint, just paint the lines, because no one knows what they're doing out there. But they refuse to. They say, okay, we'll take care of it, we'll look into it. This has been going on for 2 years. And when they originally got their approval back in 2017, their first approval, they applied in their application that we were vacant. Now, we've been there for 28 years building our business, and it's like nobody even cares what they're doing over there. There's no timelines, there's no controls, there's no barriers, there's no markings, and it's just chaos. There's nowhere for even our vendors or delivery drivers to get in there and turn around. It's dangerous. They don't put the lights on. We keep asking them to put on the temporary lights. There's no lights. The parking is uneven. It's flooded. And, at certain points right now, and it's not even high season, there's not one parking space left in there. And like I said, they could easily move that and create parking spaces. So going forward, and there's not enough parking in the new plan, and that's going through right now, but besides that, they need some kind of control. There's no conditions set over there. There's no barriers. The dust is flying everywhere, and it's just not my business. It's all of the businesses over there that are suffering.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Wave. Got a couple things to talk about. First of all, what's our status on our historic planner for the city? Having sat on historic preservation for years with Warren, and we won countless awards, and meetings have been going on once a quarter for the last year or so. And, things aren't progressing, things aren't moving forward. The projects we had started years ago aren't being maintained around the city. So, I know that they were looking to hire a historic planner, so I'm wondering why that's still on the back burner a couple years later. The second thing I want to comment on kind of goes with this is I've been seeing a lot lately about the trash problems at Riverwalk, which used to be known as Causeway Square. Is this ever going to get resolved? So I guess this kind of ties in with what the last two people were talking about. Something needs to be done about the trash, because I'm seeing pictures on Facebook all the time about it, and trash seems to be our number one issue in this city. Next thing I want to question is if I'm recalling correctly and Barb Reedy is recalling correctly, when that Bank of America project was approved that, so many of us came out and fought against because we didn't want it, we were promised a park. No matter whether that building got built or not, where is our park? It's now been several years, and, if we're promised a park, we should get a park. So maybe we should look into what happened to that, because, everyone has not forgotten the Bank of America thing. And yes, we still object to it. And I must say I object to the early start time here, as well as a lot of other people who didn't even know we were starting early tonight. There was no community input, no public input on this when you all made this decision at the December meeting, because I was sitting here going, oh boy, this is a disaster waiting to happen. These meetings are for the public. They're not meant to be convenient for everybody else. They're meant to be convenient for the public so the public can come to these. And too many people get off work at 5 and want to get something to eat before they come here, and they can't. The parking's probably even worse earlier than it is later in the evening once people start leaving the park area. But I just want to put in my official objection to this early start time. Thank you so much, and I hope you can look into the Bank of America Park and the historic planner situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, first off, Happy New Year, everybody. My name is Alyssa Thorne. I live at 1201 Southwest 27th Avenue in Gulfview Harbor. I have 3-year-old twins and a 1-year-old, toddler now, and I'm here because I'm very, very concerned about the speeding problem on our street. I live smack dab in 27th Avenue, and there's about a half a mile stretch of no stop signs, no speed bumps, nothing. We have people cutting through. We have people that live in our neighborhood. We have school buses that are speeding and completely disregarding the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I bought my kids bikes for Christmas, and I'm trying not to get emotional, but this really upsets me. They can't even go outside in the street without the fear of them getting hit. There's people walking their dogs, and I'm absolutely sick of it. Something needs to be done. We've had multiple speed studies done. I have neighbors here who have lived in that neighborhood for 20 plus years, and we keep getting the brush off. When I first moved in there 7 years ago, we had those, electronic signs that monitor the speed. You guys captured the data. There was tons of evidence of people going over 50 miles an hour. Nothing's been done. We get excuses about emergency vehicles. I don't buy it. There's plenty of neighborhoods that have speed bumps in place. I know there was something done recently with Forest Park neighborhood, and I want something done in our neighborhood. There's other people here that are going to speak, and I'm telling you this is my first time at a meeting, and I will come back until something's done in Gulfview Harbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Parinard. I also live in Gulfview Harbor, 1135 Southwest 27th Avenue. It's a very nice neighborhood. I've been there for almost 3 decades now. And the good news is that the neighborhood is teeming with life. There's a lot of mothers with little children, wagons, now on bicycles. There's a lot of children on bicycles in general, cruising around. A lot of dog walkers, just pedestrians, a lot of joggers. We have the luxury of having Calusa Park behind us. We have access through it through a very nice bridge. But the situation is that in Gulfview Harbor on 27th Avenue, as Alyssa said, there's at least a 1,000-foot stretch when you first enter off Congress. Up front, there's townhouses, there's condominiums, and on 27th, there's at least 24 houses between stop signs. So what makes this neighborhood unique is that there's no sidewalks. So people share the roadway with the cars. My opinion is that 25 is too fast for that road. When you're standing there and a car comes by at 25 miles an hour, it just takes a fraction of a second, a mistake, and you can be hit by a car. 25 is too fast. As she pointed out, a lot of cars don't follow the 25 mile an hour speed limit. I spend a lot of time out in the garage and in my yard, and I am here to tell you that not only do people go way too fast. above 25. There's no doubt about it. But even 25 is a little fast. And I guess my hope would be that we could lower the speed limit because there are no sidewalks to maybe 15. I don't know if speed tables are allowed in the neighborhood, but we need some kind of speed reduction in the neighborhood before something bad happens. But again, the good news is that the neighborhood's alive. There's a lot of people, a lot of kids, a lot of new younger families moving in, and it's been a really nice change. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Kent McMillan. I also live in Gulfview Harbor, 1301 Southwest 27th Avenue. I've been living in that home for 21 years. I'm a business owner contractor in Boynton Beach. I have multiple properties in Boynton Beach that I've developed and keep as rental properties. This road is, Mike, I agree that the speed could be lowered to help things, but that's not going to solve the problem because people are going to go fast. They go fast at 25, they're doing 40 or 50. School buses, we've reported multiple times the numbers off of school buses to the district to let them know there's buses speeding down the road. They do nothing about it, no discipline. That still happens. The stretch is actually from stop sign to stop sign is about 850 linear feet. So it's way too far. In my opinion, it needs 3 traffic calming devices divided evenly up on the street to divide it into 4 portions. We have dogs. Our dog has been hit by vehicles on that street. The mailbox directly across from me is still off because every time she puts it on, it gets hit. People don't even stay on the street. My son's football's been run over multiple times. We stay way away from the road. It is a very dangerous road. Congress Avenue backs up at rush hour. People fly through our street. They have no discretion. Half of them have their phone in their hand. I've watched their faces. They're not even looking at the street. There's a guy on our street that almost got hit, but his lawnmower got taken out when he was cutting the lawn. What more do you need to know that we need traffic calming devices on this street? Does a life have to be lost? Animals' lives are being lost. Property is being damaged. I mean, what else do we need to tell you to put something on the street? I would love to see the speed limit lowered as well, but I'm more concerned about putting something that's going to force them to slow down. That is most important. I appreciate your time. Hope we can work something out.
Thank you.
Good evening, Lori Fasolo, 1405 Southwest 25th Ave in Gulfview Harbor. I've lived there 20 years, and my street has no stop signs. My street starts with a stop sign as they come around. It's a wannabe stop sign because no one even stops at that stop sign. Once they make that turn, they have a long drive that they can speed, and many, many do. We have kids, I'm going to say, anywhere from 11 to 20 kids on one side street. I call it Kidsville. And I almost hit one 2 days ago on a bike. The kid ran right in front of me. Didn't distract him. He just kept going. I almost lost my cookies because it's that crazy. I mean, the kids, they don't know. They just want to have fun. There's a definite problem. Now, I know right up the street from me, there's the apartments, and they have speed bumps. So there's no reason why we can't have some kind of speed bumps or something that, like the gentleman just said, it needs to be deterred so that they have to slow down. It's crazy in there. And I'm on a street that's not off the main road like that 27. I know what they're talking about. It's through the whole neighborhood. So please try and look into, I don't even know if we as landlords or owners have to go to somebody. If you could direct us, we'll go further. We'll try and locate somebody. I know we did, city manager, I know we did have a meeting at our clubhouse, and one of the officers said, we really don't, most people that live in neighborhoods like this don't want the speed bumps because it destroys their vehicles. Well, they would rather have a child get killed instead. That's what's going to happen. And I'd hate to see the city have to sit here and listen to us say, it happened, we came to you. So if you could, we'd like to look into it. And I will speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel Hall, 1341 Southwest 27th. I also live in Gulfview Harbor. Was one of those people with the dog that got hit by a car, walking on the side of the road with a 6-foot leash, and next thing I know, my 11-week-old puppy's crossing me up in the air because this guy with a huge truck just mowed us over, and I was actually standing in the grass, so he was very much on just the edge of the street. So I see children all over riding their bikes, and I love that. I mean, this is a social media year, where we need these kids out there wanting to do this. So something I would love, I live right near the city area where there's a big driveway for the city for the water, pump. Put an officer there. Let them start seeing that these people, I do drag racing, we've clocked people 40, 45 miles an hour going down this street. Put an officer there. Let's start to slow these people down and let them know that once they get a ticket or a warning, they're going to slow down and stop. And I did some yard work not too long ago, had coconuts in my lawn. 2 cars passed, a gentleman's jogging. They crushed everything just went everywhere. Coconuts were flying, hitting their car, and they stopped yelling at me that I damaged their car. They were in the yard. I have them on surveillance in the yard hitting it. So it's out of control. It needs some kind of address to be something, and I think there should be an officer out there slowing people down. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Musser. We've lived 1195 Southwest 27th Avenue for about going on 37 years. And we've seen it with our kids growing up. Our kids now are in their 30s, but now they're having grandkids and they're coming over. We were talking about the guy getting hit with the lawnmower hit. I was there that day. I seen that. Last week we had somebody that was doing the speed limit or below the speed limit, and they ended up passing to get around them, and they must have been going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. Nobody wants to wait on 27th Avenue. And sooner or later, someone's going to get killed for sure on that street unless we do something about it. And we need some type of speed bumps. They put the signs in front of our house that you can watch cars go by, watch the speed limit. And I've watched people go by 60 miles an hour, and they'll flash, they just keep going. That didn't do anything. That's at least 3 times in 30-some years they put that sign on our street, and it doesn't matter. People just don't listen. I mean, we got to do something so they don't get killed. Some little kid's going to be on a bicycle and just shoot out in front of a car. So that's all.
Hello, I'm Karen Musser. I live at 1195 Southwest 27th Avenue next to Alyssa, the first woman that spoke, and her children are out there. We don't see our neighbors because we're afraid to go out in the front yard. We have grandchildren now. My children, like my husband just said, grew up on that street, and I was always out there with them. It was bad then. In fact, when they were children, we tried talking with the neighborhood and at the neighborhood meetings, and we're told the same thing. It interferes with emergency vehicles. Well, we need to do something because my grandchildren now, I'm walking them down the street in a wagon, and I've had to jump into the grass and pull them. They fell out one time because I was trying to get them into safe ground because a car was flying down the street. So it really is a scary, scary time, and it's getting worse, not better. 37 years, and it's just getting worse. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everybody. Judy from 1371 Southwest 27th Avenue. I'm on the other end of these people. I'm at a T, as a matter of fact. We face 13th place or 27th place. I have to attest to the bus drivers driving quickly down the road. I've had to take video with my camera. That seems to help for a while. We motion to people. I have no children. We have 2 dogs that we walk. There are about 5 families on the street that I walk, which I can't walk on 27th Avenue. It's too dangerous to walk down 27th Avenue any time of the day or night. It doesn't matter if it's weekdays or weekends. Please do something. At least put a patrol car there, as one woman said. Let's do something, please. And one last thing is I'm proud to live in Boynton Beach. I have people, friends from West Palm Beach. They think that it's so wonderful up there, and they snub their nose at the area that we live in. And it's embarrassing to see the people coming through and speeding like that. Thank you.
Tori Orr, 407 Northeast.
Excuse me, Lori, can you close the door?
Yeah, I want the Martin Luther King Festival. It's supposed to be whatever it is y'all throwing us. And I was told, that y'all taking the funds out of the Martin Luther King Festival. This is going to be the last year of y'all doing anything for Martin Luther King Festival in Boynton Beach. If so, you know what I'm saying? If so, that's true. That's a real slap in the face, once again, to our community. Then we get this little makeup, whatever y'all come with, on the 2nd, this little meeting we had. I appreciate everybody coming in, putting their resources in. But last year, when we did the MLK Festival, we had signs all out on I-95, big signs, and that was in December. Early December, because I got the paper still, the day when we started getting them out and passing out flyers all over the city, over 5,000 of them. But now y'all finna throw us something together, throw a Martin Luther King together in 2 weeks, and we only got a $10,000 budget, and we got to get a jazz musician, a professional jazz musician, that's gonna be all of that. It's just like, dang, man, what else you gonna do to District 2? You give us a park, we can't have no events in it. We can't get no permit. We could go out there and we want a permit. We were getting permits when it was old. We gave you 48 weeks in a row, non-violence. That don't mean nothing. Then we ask for a permit, it's this way, that way, this way. Everybody on vacation. We asked for a permit from Thanksgiving all the way to New Year's. No, it ain't time yet. Y'all got 25 cameras out there, state of the art. If anything jump off there, y'all gonna see it before I see it. Y'all just controlling us. You taking away from the MLK, and then you controlling us with this park. What else more you gonna take? You watching us like we animals or something in District 2 or something. Are we animals to y'all? Because that's how I feel we getting treated. You taking away. You started giving raises to Mike Simon, CRA. What are they getting raised? What is ever raised for? What have he brought back in District 2, everything he took 24 years ago? CRA came in my community and took everything away. And ain't brought nothing back yet, but he started getting raises in the city. For what? And it's so ridiculous. But I had to come up here and share that today with y'all, And with that, I'm done. That's bullshit.
Excuse me, please leave.
I am leaving. You a bullshit mayor.
Mr. Mayor, and I apologize for interjecting, but just to clarify some, and I apologize, Reverend Wright, for jumping in front of you, just to clarify some of that information. One, the permitting process at Sarah Sims Park is identical to the permitting process of every park that allows special events in the city, so there is no difference whatsoever. We actually voted to remove the prohibition on events a couple months back because the park had just reopened and we wanted to allow people access to have events. Regarding the statements about the funding for MLK Day, I haven't heard anything to the effect that we're reducing those funding, and I don't think anyone here would probably support that. And I find it hard to believe that the city is...
We never did fund it until about 2 years ago, where I added funding into the budget for the city to be able to hold these events. So historically, it was funded and run by the community, and that sort of fell apart. So we started actually funding for it and working originally with the CRA. Now the city's doing it. So we just began funding it. Commissioner McCrae, maybe 2-3 years ago, I think we started.
Yes.
And that funding started originally at $5,000. It's grown to 10. And, you know, we have every anticipation to grow the event. It's just going to take, it just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify some of that because it was just completely off base.
Minister Bernard Wright, CEO of Bernard Wright Ministries, the Robert E. Wells Foundation, Real Talk Radio, 713 Northwest 2nd Street. I got 3 issues I'd like to bring before you, so let me do this as concise and expeditiously as I can. I object also from the 6:30 to 5:30 is not convenient to, especially me and probably a whole lot of citizens, and we should have had an input. Secondly, about the amphitheater, I still want that to be, yes, under advisement to pour that 3 foot of concrete to complete it. To God be the glory. Thirdly, I put in an application to be on the CRA advisory board as a volunteer member. Now, coming out of District 2, 67 years with my family being pioneers of this city, who knows more about this district, especially with 8 years of community service and civic duty here in this city, opposing some commissioner, picking someone just getting into the community and no business is inside the CRA district, or someone else that is not part of District 2 and live in the CRA district as myself, as passionate as I am, having seen policy changes for the betterment of my community. To God be the glory. Wouldn't you think I would be choosable, best selected for the job? And even volunteering and seeing my passion and how much I come to your meeting, CRA board meeting, because of my passion and input for the betterment of my city. Why would you set position for gentrification when there's someone in here with no culture or history and don't have a connection with the city, the ground root parents and children? They come in with their own agenda. So how, and when there's no one to represent my people, voice it for them, who's better? And so I want to know right now today, I would love for you all to speak on that matter, because this is the second time I've been rejected. The first time because I wasn't yet a registered voter because I'm an ex-convicted felon. However, today I'm a current candidate for District 2 City Commission, and it's only a but-God situation. And it's a but-God situation that we do the right thing, and it doesn't cost anything to do the right thing, but just do the right thing. To God be the glory.
And Reverend Wright, just to clarify, your name is on the list of applicants for that position.
Thank you.
It is on there.
And it will be discussed later.
Okay, thank
Coming
you.
up on the agenda.
Thank you. And I just want to say, this citizen was at my invitation. We're trying to get as many people involved now from our community. To God be the glory. That's a great advocacy. Thank you, Shirley.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Waters. I live at 1504 Northeast 2nd Court in Boynton Beach. I'm here to address one of the most dangerous intersections in Boynton. I've lived at 1504 for about 40 years, maybe a little longer. I won't tell my age. And the traffic there is horrendous. It's horrible. I mean, you can hardly get out. And if you know anything about Seacrest Boulevard, it's really bad. And sometimes I can't get out. I mean, I'll have to make a U-turn or whatever to try to get out. Sometimes I go back to the railroad track, and they're working on the railroad track. And heavens forbid, if there's ever a disaster here, like a Cat 5, we wouldn't be able to get out of there, the people that live over on both sides, east and west of Seacrest at 14th. There are 2 churches in that area on 14th, and then there's the Bible Church of God, which I attend, just less than a block away. And we have a horrible time trying to get in and out. And if someone could please address that before some bad accident happens there, we would really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. So Seacrest is not a city street.
Pardon me, sir?
Seacrest Boulevard, even though it's within the city limits, we don't control that as the city. Unlike Gulfview Harbor, where the city owns all of those roads, we don't own Seacrest. So if you have your information, you may want to speak to your county commissioner, which I would believe is Mac Bernard.
County commissioner takes care of Seacrest Boulevard? Well, who would take care of the 14th Avenue?
14th Avenue and Seacrest, that intersection?
Yes.
That'd be the county.
But it's county also?
Yes. So if you're talking about the speeding along 14th Avenue, that is something we can do as a city, but that intersection we
Well,
don't.
we do need speed bumps. There seems to be some kind of motorcycle gang that hangs around in that area because I guess, I don't know why, but it's really horrible.
Okay. Well,
If someone could, look into that, we really need all the help we could get. Maybe some speed bumps in that area. After 40 years, I've seen a lot of things, and it's really getting worse.
I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate everybody from Gulfview Harbor giving us your input about this on our meetings. This is what we really want to see, and because of this, it's like we have the ability to make those changes, and so we will be working with our city staff to do this. And Colin, the air conditioning, we see it's working.
I've moved it up to 80, and it's still pumping out at 60, so.
Can you just turn it off?
I'm going to try to turn it off.
All right, thank you.
How would excuse me,
Yeah.
how would I go about getting with the county? I mean, do they have meetings like this or what?
They have it on the first and third Tuesday during the day.
To whom would I see or speak with?
I think one of my...
You can call 561-355-2207, and that's how you would reach the office of County Commissioner.
355-22?
355-2207.
Okay.
And you'll reach the office of County Commissioner Mac Bernard, and they can help.
County Commissioner?
Mac Bernard.
Thank you, Commissioner Romulus.
Thank you so
Commissioner
much.
McRae?
Yeah, Shirley, thank you. I'm glad that you brought up about the gangs on those ATVs because they're all over District 2. We had one young man that got hit, almost killed, and had to be taken to the hospital, and they go down the streets and also the dirt bikes, they ride up and down the streets like they have tags on. I made the police department aware. I called Chief Michael Gregory, and he asked me, said, where are they riding? I said, hell, tell me where they're not riding. That's what I said. They're all over all the streets in Boynton. I'm just saying, and people have been calling me saying, Commissioner, we can't even back out. They come down, act like they don't even, they ignore us. I'm just saying they come right down the middle of the road, and I'm just saying, every year we have the same problem. And I said, well, the police don't want to chase them, they said, but when this guy got, hit, I seen about 8 police cars over there that had it roped off and stuff like that, and it's a problem. And I'm just saying, there's a way, I know there's a way, because if they could stop it from happening in Delray, they can stop it from happening here in Boynton. Thank you.
I hope so. I pray so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Sonny Garcia, 1631 Northwest 3rd Lane, Boynton Beach, Florida. I hope you pay attention to these people that we're talking about 27th, because I've been talking about 17th, about people parking on 17th, and I've talked to Mayor Grant, talked to Commissioner McRae, and I also talked to Andrew Mack about it. People have been parking on 17th for the longest. You got signs out there. They're not enforced. They must be out there for looks only. So I need you all, this is a new year. People have been parking there for years, and I've been complaining. People have been complaining to me. I've been complaining to McRae. I guess his ears are already on fire, because every time I call him, he says, I'll see what I can do.
They're not on fire tonight, son. It's freezing in here.
But I've also talked to you before, Mayor Grant, about the situation. Nothing has been done about that. So hopefully this year you all can get with the county, which Andrew Mack told me he was going to get with the county on the buses. They can park on East Hill Hester at the park. Drop the kids there. People can pick them up there. Instead of on the streets, they pick them up at the park. They can drive out 17th. That's no problem. Problem is that you all need to enforce those signs that are on 17th. We want our neighborhood to look right, like everybody else's. But if you don't enforce them signs, you must have them out there for looks. I thank you for your time.
My name is Katie Miller, and I live at 1057 Southwest 28th Avenue in Gulfview Harbor, and I know you all are probably tired of hearing about it, but they speed on Southwest 28th also. But instead of putting speed bumps, why can't we have the signs saying 25 miles per hour. There is no signs in Gulfview Harbor stating how fast you should go. I guess people don't read their driver's book that in the residential section it should be 25 miles per hour. But anyways, that's what's happening. I don't really like speed bumps because I don't kind of tear up your car, I think, you know. And my other problem is the new, what you call it, community compliance or whatever now instead of
Community standards.
code enforcement. I liked it when it was code enforcement. But in Gulfview Harbor, there used to be that you had, if you had a boat, you had to have a slab put down, concrete, and you couldn't put it on the grass, couldn't just back it up in your yard. And that's what's happening now. Also, cars without tags. Right out next door to me, there's a car back there, been there for over a year now, with no tag on it. And I'm sure when they ride by, they see that it doesn't have a tag.
Probably not.
On 28th Avenue, further down, we have work trucks. I told someone already about it. We have work trucks with, I didn't think you could put your work truck in the residential section with lawnmowers. I mean, that house has about 6 cars there, all parked in the road, headed the wrong way. And we never see a police officer in Gulfview Harbor. I know the police officers are busy doing crimes, you know, checking, but I would like to see a police officer once in a while. Thank you very much.
Katie, don't go. Hopefully, the city manager went outside to get Mr. Temple because he's over code compliance, and he's the one that really needs to be in here listening to some of these things. And I don't know if he stepped out, if he's not here, but if he come back in, that's the person you need to go to. He has on a blue jacket, and tell him just what you told us. I'm just saying because for District 2, I'm always making phone calls, and they got it now. So when you tell them about they got a tag, a car without a tag, they move it from one section to the other, made like it's operable. And I'm just saying we're still having the same problem, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So if Mr. Temple is still out there, that's who you need to talk to.
Mr. Miller, you got to go speak in front of the podium.
Mr. Temple.
All right, thank you.
One more for Gulfview Harbor.
All right.
Maybe the last one. But anyway, I wasn't planning on talking, but I couldn't
state your
resist.
name and address?
I'm sorry. My name is Jimmy Webster. I live in 2572 Southwest 11th Court, Gulfview Harbor, Boynton Beach. I hear about the speed bumps. I hear about stop signs. I hear about lowering the speed limit. None of it's going to work. What you need is cops. You need to put the guys on the street like you used to have. You guys have gotten I think you got rid of your traffic division. You need to bring it back, put those guys on the streets, and you can make a fortune at the stop signs. Absolute fortune. You'll make more money than you do with your red light cameras. Put some guys on those stop signs, put some cameras on the streets, radar. Put somebody on those roads coming down from 95 going 60 miles an hour. You can't even turn out of the neighborhoods anymore. It's getting bad, guys, and you got to do something. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else for public audience?
Andrew's out talking to the 27th Avenue folks right now.
All right.
Mr. Temple is out talking.
Seeing no more, public audience is now closed. Moving on to administrative. Appoint eligible members of the community to serve in vacant positions on city advisory boards. Our first board, Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals, we have 2 regular and 2 alternate positions available. The Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board, we have 1 regular. Vice Mayor Katz.
So I might turn this into a brief discussion and solicit your advice as a board. So that the situation before us is that 2 candidates for an election scheduled for 2 months from now have applied for an advisory board position, which means there's a 50% chance that one of the people gets picked and has to immediately resign because they cannot serve on CRA advisory board and on the CRA board. I guess maybe this is a question for legal or the city clerk. How many more times can this position be tabled? I don't want to pick or choose because politically speaking, by picking someone, then they can tout that they're serving on the CRA advisory board during an election cycle, which would be to their advantage. which I don't want to do for anybody, or I don't want to do it and spite one person, whichever person it would be. So this says tabled 3. That means this appointment's been tabled 3 times because of lack of applicants in the past, or is that what that tabled 3 next to it means? So per whatever, rules or guidelines, if this is tabled, how many more times? Because I feel like if it's tabled X amount of times, then it turns over to a new commissioner. So
It's 3 times for each commissioner.
okay, so I'm going to put faith in whoever would be up next with this appointment and say that because you have 2 candidates running against each other in an election and everything I said earlier, that, at this point in time, I don't want to pick or choose one person and give them something to talk about or tout in the election cycle over the other person who would then be spited by it. It won't be my appointment, but what my recommendation would be for whoever gets this appointment after I request to table it again is to use your ability to table it through the election, and then after the election, appoint whoever does not win the election. That way, somebody gets to win the election and somebody gets to then serve on the advisory board. So at this time, I'm going to pass, table, whatever the appropriate action would be.
I think it would be to table, because if you pass it, then someone else could make.
Gotcha. So if I table it, then it'll be their appointment to make.
On the next thing.
Gotcha.
Whereas if...
Everything I just said, so I request to table this for all those reasons.
All right. So do we have a second for the table?
Second.
Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed unanimously, tabled to the next meeting. Yes, Board Member McCray.
Chair, since it's been tabled, let me just ask the clerk, how many vacancies is on the CRA advisory board?
The one.
Just the one. Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
All right.
For clarity, there are more than just these 2 applicants running for District 2, yes?
No.
It is just these 2?
Those
Yep.
two.
Okay.
And so the only concern is what if one of these applicants ran for another position on the Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals, and there's 2 regular spots? Are we saying that we don't want to pick anybody, or just because of the certain scenario that pointed in front of us, because last meeting, when you were not here, we only had 1 candidate running for this position. And so the fact that you weren't here, no one was able to make that nomination, and that because it was still on the table. So that's kind of where I'm at, is that are we trying to say we don't want to, as a policy, if anyone is now a qualified candidate, not to appoint them to an advisory board, that if they want to be on an advisory board, that they should do it beforehand. However, because you weren't here, he didn't have that opportunity.
So I'm not going to request a policy or anything because there could be variations of this scenario, but just in this instance, given the variables, I'm going to exercise my right to table.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have 1 regular position and 2 students on the Education and Youth Advisory Board, 2 regular and 2 alternates on the Historic Resources Preservation Board, 3 regular and 2 alternate on the Library Board, 2 regular and 1 alternate on the Senior Advisory Board. Item 5B has been removed. Moving on to consent agenda. Does anyone like to remove the item for consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to consent agenda for bids and purchases over $100,000. May I have a motion to approve or open for discussion?
So moved.
And do I? Thank you. Yeah. All right. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Public hearing starts at 7 p.m. Would the board like to move on to City Manager's report?
Please.
Okay. City Manager's report. Commissioner
Thank you, Mayor.
Pitzer has requested a discussion to possibly create a task force for public outreach for opportunity zones in Boynton Beach.
Mayor and Commission members, I just wanted to bring up this topic because, as you may know, we currently have two opportunity zones designated within our city. And one of the recurring questions I've had is, what are we doing about these two opportunity zones to activate them? As you know, most recently we went to the City Summit League, National League of Cities meeting, and one of the workshops I attended was about what other cities were doing to activate their opportunity zones. And so there was a significant amount of takeaway, but David Scott is here, so if you could give us a little overview of these opportunity zones.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner. David Scott, Director of Economic Development and Strategy. Just want to take a minute this evening to go over a little background on opportunity zone, especially for the public that might not be aware of what opportunity zones are, and then to go into some of the recommendations of some of the activities that are currently happening within the city, and then some of those, as Commissioner Prince-Sergov mentioned, some opportunities that other cities have taken advantage of. So, let's see, John. There we go. So, just to briefly, opportunity zones were set up by the Job Cuts Act of 2017, established a new section of the tax code. It really is to set up a mechanism for investment in low-income communities. What are opportunity zones? They're designated by the governor. It allows for 25% of the state's low-income census tracts to be qualified and determined low income. We, as Boynton Beach, have two existing opportunity zones, and I'll go into that a little later in the presentation so everybody will be aware of what they are and where they are. Opportunity funds are actually set up as investments for deferments on capital gains tax. So if funds are set up with if you have any capital gains, you actually can invest in funds which allow you to defer any tax responsibility or obligation on that investment. Those opportunity funds are then allowed to be invested in those opportunity zones that I mentioned earlier. And so they are linked. Again, the zones are designated by the governor. Those definitions, again, are low-income community used by New Markets tax credit programs. I got it the wrong way, right? So there we go. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. Sorry. The temporary tax deferral, as I mentioned, will allow for that investment and reinvestment in those communities. And there's no cap on that. I'll just show you, just as one of those examples of how that deferment works. You invest in an opportunity fund. If that investment is held for at least 5 years, you get a deferment on that investment of about 10%. After 7 years, you get a 15% deferment. This is a further example of how that works. So if you invest, say, $10,000, after the year 5, you now owe 10% less if you sell that opportunity fund. After year 7, it's 15% less tax responsibility. And then after 10 years, you have no tax responsibility on that investment.
Your voice is going up and down, kind of.
Losing the mic, I apologize. Our opportunity zone classification, I mentioned where those are located. We have two in Boynton Beach. The one to the north, which is defined as 005701, is basically bounded by I-95 to the west, Dixie Highway to the east, basically Minor Road to the north, and Gateway Boulevard to the south. The second one further south, which is 006100, is bordered by Boynton Beach Canal to the north, I-95 to the west, Boynton Beach Boulevard to the south until you get east of the railroad tracks where it drops down to East Ocean and goes to the city line to the west there. What works in opportunity zones, not only here in the city, but as you look at best practices throughout the country, you identify, convene, and create. And I'll go into a little more detail of what that means. So best practices as identify is to identify what those projects are, bring investors in, show them what the opportunities are to invest within the city. Right now, we handle that on a case-by-case basis. We have developers come in and talk to us. We identify what their needs are. We identify any sites that are available within those opportunity zones, and then provide them with any additional information they may need to invest. We are looking at developing community prospectus as they come in, so we will be able to market more of the city and some of those available opportunities within the city.
David, excuse me, I'm going to stop you because you said it's done on a case-by-case basis. That's good. How many approach you all so far?
I'm familiar with at least 3 that have approached us, and 2 very recently.
Thank you.
Yes. We do facilitate deal making. Again, when these developers come in and talk to us, we work with either our own team or with the CRA when that occurs in the CRA district. We do designate a point person. So right now for the city, I am a point person, and Mike Simon is the point person for the CRA along with Twee. We've worked on a couple of projects together. We do currently encourage private, civic, and philanthropic engagement where we bring different partners into the table. What we also do is we are looking at enhancing our website. We get certain information on there that links to both the county and the state, providing additional information. We have links to the IRS and Treasury existing on there, and we have provided links to mapping tools. We're currently working with Debbie Majors on making all that. Of course, we are updating our entire website to make it accessible, but you may notice that we pulled down some opportunity zone information. After this presentation, we'll upload that documentation again to make it accessible to our community. I mentioned a little bit more about creating. So we do facilitate OZ projects, opportunity zone projects. We assist with city processes. Right now, as the Commission is aware, we align tech-based economic development tools, which is really a way of saying we have links on our website. Here's how you can link with some of those available opportunities with the city. We cost share efforts around blight removal. That's the goal and charge of the CRA, and we certainly do that where you can help with blight removal in certain areas where there's a potential investment. We're reforming our zoning code.
Stop. I need to ask another question. Okay, a brownfield remediation. I know we had a brownfield here in the city before. We still have that brownfield?
No, it was mitigated, and that's what used to be the old lumber yard.
Yes.
And is now Seabourn Cove. But through that designation, you receive federal grants to improve the property.
So those types of strategies, I'm sorry, sir.
We get rid of brownfields. Okay.
So those type of strategies help pave the way for investment in those areas. The Commission is also aware Mike Rumpf has presented certain zoning codes and strategies around increasing density and further making properties more affordable within the city. We're fast tracking the permitting approvals of for development projects in general, but especially helpful for opportunity zone projects to be able to make that available and facilitate that. We contribute city-owned vacant. We can contribute city-owned vacant property where we would have to assemble, or there's an opportunity to assemble property. The CRA does it regularly, so that also is an opportunity for incentivizing investment within these districts. And then layer on commercial grant funding, which is CRA and the city do regularly. Convene is, as Commissioner Conserga brought up today, how can we bring partners together to the table to further facilitate these types of availability and construction, and cooperation. So we propose, as some other cities have done, propose a task force or presenting a task force concept where we would bring community groups, in our case, Palm Beach County Business Development Board, Boynton Beach Community Development Agency, Chamber of Commerce's, Boynton Beach Faith-Based CDC. We included Habitat for Humanity because they do a lot of investment in those districts. Developers, investors, real estate professionals, and tax attorneys. Try to bring them all together to help us facilitate and develop strategies around how we can improve what we do today. They will also act as a sounding board for cities to take a look at our opportunity zone strategy and provide feedback for how we're doing, can we do it better, and maybe help us market and provide some outreach to the general community. And they also help us identify the community needs. So we want to make sure we have those community representatives on this task force because it is important to hear from the community and make sure they can help us identify those opportunities and what type of opportunities they would like to see occur in that community.
Yay.
Yes, sir. I added this slide because recently Miami had a summit around the Opportunity Zone. It was a 2-day summit. So they brought all the partners into the room to talk about these any opportunities in Miami, identify those strategies, and just get some best ideas. I added this because if we do end up with a task force, this could be one of the goals of that task force to pull together a summit, not just for Boynton, but maybe for the region, where we could all work together on what would be healthy for us as we move forward. And these last two slides are really just the Opportunity Zone references that will be relisted on our website. Commissioner, you had a...
Do you know, off the top of your head, in Palm Beach County, how many opportunity zones there are?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we do have the Opportunity Zone map that would indicate
There's like 13, and it goes all the way from the Glades area to certain areas of West Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, Palm Springs.
So the reason I ask, and you kind of hit on it, is that I support anything, that would help encourage investment in these opportunity zones in our city. I think if we created a task force and tried to bring people in from other cities, you get a larger pool of knowledge or talent, because this is like a very niche thing. If you have significant financial capital, wish to increase your profits by investing that over an extended period of time in redevelopment, so it's not, whereas, like a CRA advisory board, we could have residents advise on our activities as a CRA, but as an opportunity zone task force, I want to bring in as much talent or as much knowledge and credentials from anywhere that could help us, and we could mutually help them. So I'll defer to Commissioner Penserga because this is his discussion item, but I would want to include as many people that could contribute as possible so that not only us as a city, but the county as well could mutually benefit from this kind of endeavor.
We reached out to a few people just to gauge some interest before presenting to the commission tonight, and Kelly Smallridge indicated that she would be very interested in participating if we went forward. We are partnered with the BDB on a lot of different issues as a region, and we attend a lot of the economic development strategy sessions. So I think from a region, that is a great partnership with the BDB that does bring in the region, and we do talk about shared responsibility and shared opportunities. The Opportunity Zone does come up from time to time in our discussions, so it'd be good to bring that to Boynton.
Yes, Commissioner Penserga.
The intent of the opportunity zones is to bring back investments into distressed communities that otherwise would not be receiving these funds. This is why I'm pushing it forward. I just want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, Vice Mayor Katz, I would be in favor of bringing in more talent and more expertise to this task force. That is my intent. But I also want to point out that with any development or any redevelopment into distressed neighborhoods, there is the potential, as always, of gentrification. That is not my intent. So as we talk about who might be in this task force, we mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, we talked about Habitat for Humanity. I do want to make it a condition of my request that members of the community be part of this. I want them on day one to be part of shaping how this development tool or redevelopment tool is used. So please do keep that in mind as part of my request. And yes, I am more than in favor of bringing in as much talent and expertise. Opportunity zones, he's right, it is a niche thing. It's a very complicated thing. And the reality is, I'm not a tax expert, I'm not a redevelopment expert, but we should bring in people who are. So this is why I'm pushing forward.
So I agree that, if we can create a task force, and spend some resources available to work with our county. I don't necessarily know if Broward or Miami-Dade are doing something similar, Martin, St. Lucie, but it's something that we could work together. The problem with the individuals, it may get off task or the item on hand, so we can go to different organizations such as the Urban League or Pathways to Prosperity. And so I'm not saying that we don't get input from the community, but we get input from the community organizations, not from necessarily just individual members. Yes, Board Member McCray. Commissioner McCray, sorry.
Thank you. You shouldn't have came to the meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
But anyway, the main thing is that I'm in favor of members from the community. The reason I'm going to say that is that the community, they have more at stake. Absolutely. And the reason they will come in, they'll be more serious about what they want to see take place. You can get people that comes in, nonprofit organizations. Okay, they're going to come in, with an idea looking out for their welfare. But members from that community, they be saying, this is what I want. This is what is best that I see. And we need to get input from them. And the next thing, too, is that you need to specify that this is not a board. This has nothing to do with members being on the board. This is an ad hoc committee. That's what I call it. And that anybody that's willing to serve and want to serve and apply. This is what I'm saying. We don't want to say, you already serve on something because we have nobody serving now. So I don't want that to be a roadblock.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Lori, do you need consensus from the commission?
I think we have good direction.
I think we got good. All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
David.
Thank you, air conditioner, for going off.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's totally off, so when it gets hot, we'll have to go down and plug it back in downstairs. It's in that bad a shape, so we'll be hot in about 5 minutes, but we'll turn it back on.
I don't care.
Yep.
It got eerily.
Now we're going to move on to public hearing. The City Commission will conduct these public hearings in its dual capacity as local planning agency and City Commission. Item 8A, Jim.
Anybody who intends to testify in these proceedings, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. When you come to the microphone to speak, please identify yourself. Tell the commission if you have any special expertise to testify, if you're an architect, engineer, site planner, something of that nature. And if you have documents that you want to have made part of the record, they do need to be identified and a copy left with the city clerk.
All right. Would you like to read the ordinance?
Ordinance 20002, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach amending Ordinance 02013 to rezone a parcel of land described herein and commonly referred to as the Boynton Mall from Community Commercial C3 to Suburban Mixed Use SMU, providing for conflict severability and an effective date.
All right. Do we have the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission. Bonnie Miskell here on behalf of the applicant, and we do have a quick presentation for you. I don't know.
Yeah, he's getting it. There you go.
Okay. Oh, thank you. There we go. All right, well, I think everyone knows where the Boynton Mall is, but for those of you that are not shoppers or never have been, this is west of Congress, between Old Boynton Road and a canal and gateway eventually to the north. Okay.
You're going away from the mic. Your voice. Yeah.
I'm sorry, thank you. I'm trying to... Okay, well, hang on a second here. So this is an aerial picture of the existing property today. I think we all understand the changes that have occurred over the last decade with retail, and the malls are some of the retail centers that have been hit the hardest because of their size and their structure. And unfortunately, this mall is one of those malls that's been hit quite hard. There's about 30% of the site is vacant today, and more actually had been previously. The current owner has done a good job trying to recover from what is the reality of retail in the 21st century and competition with online, and in particular Amazon. So years ago, actually, a few years back, the city staff and my client began discussions on what to do with the mall. It's an important asset for both my client and the city of Boynton Beach, and it's one that we felt could have a lot of potential. And through a collaboration, we were able to come forward with a comprehensive plan that you previously approved, and now we've been working for almost a year now on the master plan and the zoning. So, I am before you this evening to request a rezoning of the mall property from the C3 community commercial category district to the suburban mixed use category, consistent with the not so long ago approved MXL future land use designation, which you'll hear me say a few times. For that category of land use, the SMU is the only zoning category that can be approved. So what we're asking for this evening is entirely consistent with the underlying land use. It was envisioned when we came before you about a year ago, and we're pleased tonight to at least present this to you for the first time, and we will be back. So with this category, a master plan is submitted. A master plan is essentially a bubble plan. It's not a site plan. We will be coming back with site plans, but the bubble plan, the master plan really speaks mostly to the uses and to maximum use or intensity. This master plan includes a maximum of 1,420 units, a maximum of a 400-room hotel or hotels plural, a shopping center comprised of approximately 628,000 square feet, an existing church, which will remain, a fitness center, which is existing and will remain, approximately 20,000 square feet, a high turnover restaurant comprised of approximately 32,600 square feet collectively, fast food restaurants plural, comprised of approximately 10,000 square feet, the addition of general office, which really isn't there today, medical office, an existing theater, potentially some event space, and expanding what open space that is out there. As I mentioned before, on April 16th, 2019, the City Commission approved ordinance number 19004, amending the mall's future land use designation from a DRI category, which had expired, to the MXL category that is currently effective. We are here to talk about redevelopment of that property, which is also consistent with item 18 in the city's strategic plan dated 2018 through 2022. During the comprehensive plan amendment, the city acknowledged in its staff report that this category is consistent. The SMU zoning category is the appropriate category for the underlying land use, recognizing that we would be coming forward with that. So again, this is a zoning map of the property and the surrounding property, and as mentioned, it is currently zoned C3. This corridor is mostly commercial, and it is generally C3 and SMU. What had happened years ago across the street on the east side of Congress, where residential was introduced and that part of town became more mixed use in nature, those properties changed to SMU, which you can see on the lower part of the graphic, and we are following suit. You can't really see it very well. but the lower graphic depicts the site area, the zoning, the building uses, and some square footages, and we just talked about that, so I'll keep going here. As I mentioned, 1/3 of the tenant space is vacant today. The master plan does a few things. In addition to articulating the uses and the intensities, the maximum intensities, it also creates both a vehicular and a pedestrian grid pattern, which I'm sure you've seen in your backup and that is part of this agenda item. This is the proposed graphic with the vehicular roadways and driveways, and I'm going to be showing you the pedestrian as well. This is superimposed with the uses, and as you can see on this graphic, it gives you maximums. Also on this graphic, you see the location of the existing church on the northwest part of this mall, the existing theater, northeast corner, and we have the Macy's, where it is currently located today on the south side, just north of Old Boynton Road. It lays out, again, the uses, the integration of the uses, the roadway connections, and the dashed line in red are the pedestrian connections. In addition to revitalizing what is a mall that's obviously been affected by the economy and the retail market, what this also does is it creates pedestrian opportunities that don't exist today, that are never found in a mall environment, and it also creates vehicular driveways and roadways that were not there but that will address and serve the future community. Okay, I've got to get my glasses on to read some of this. I apologize. The other opportunity that we have with the master plan that obviously is not out there today is to create improved green space and open space. The preserve area, which is in the northwest corner of the site, was not part of the comp plan amendment, as you may remember, and it's not really part of this rezoning. It is going to continue to be an open preserve area, as you can note in green. We have added, though, along the perimeter of the preserve, some pedestrian walkways to allow not simply access to, but access around the site. And the graphic in the lower corner is a typical section of the street. We're adding vegetation in between larger pedestrian walkways and the vehicular roadways, making it more of a village experience. Okay. This is, I'm sorry, I skipped over, I didn't mean to do that. All right, we talked a little bit about, the area that is highlighted here is an example of some of the driveway improvements that are planned for the community to facilitate the integration of pedestrian and car activity. This is intended to be a raised, decorative intersection. The raised section is to slow traffic and to facilitate more of a pedestrian-friendly environment. So these are some of the things that you're going to see that you don't see out there today. These are typical in pedestrian-friendly and walkable communities. And this is a graphic on some of the open space areas that we're creating. This is a mixed-use community with both residential and non-residential. The residential will be served by open spaces that we are creating, including children's areas, pedestrian walkways, bikeways, and other activities for the residential community. On the north end of the project is the first phase, which will be entirely residential. It will be a freestanding and independent residential building. Everything else is, for the most part, integrated, although there are some other locations on the southwest corner that potentially could also be freestanding residential. We have a minimum of, well, we have the same 3 access on Congress that are previously there today. The mall property does not own more than the driveway entrances in and out of the site. They will improve those roadways with better pedestrian connections, and there will be some interesting and decorative gateway signage on Congress. The old Boynton connections will be modified ultimately by this master plan from what is currently there today, and we'll have some additional gateway signage there. On the southwest corner of the site, and I think there's a better graphic that we'll get to. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but we are dedicating a fire station to the city to serve this overall property, and I'll have a graphic that will show that a little bit better. This is intended as a phased property. I think you understand that we have 5 owners out there, one of which, the largest, is Washington Prime Group. Macy's is also an owner, the church is an owner, the theater has its own ownership, and there's a restaurant that is under separate ownership. The parties have worked very hard to come up with a plan that each can live with, so we feel that we've collaborated quite well with them here, and this is quite an accomplishment. But because of the
Excuse me, I'm going to stop you because this is something I need to say now. You're dedicating a fire station. I'm going to ask the city manager why they're dedicating this fire station. Are you all looking at employees that we have money for that?
This is for very much potentially a need for the future, so it's a reservation of potential property for the potential need. So as you know, we have not begun doing that yet, but we think, and as the future continues to grow and the city does, we may have more of a need out west. So we would do a feasibility study.
Thank you.
And I'll show you that area a little bit better in just a minute. But it is a phased project, as your city manager has explained. Although we are planning for full build-out, it will be over a period of years. The first phase is the north end of the site in red, and we move south as we go. First phase, freestanding residential. Second phase, existing buildings and some integrated mixed use. Phase 4 should include a hotel, we're hoping for. Phase 3, residential, potentially some mixed use there as well, and phase 5, mixed use. This is just a typical planting palette of what you can expect to see out there, significantly improved from what is there, what you might expect for a planned mixed-use community. And, I guess, I'm going to go back just to show you the potential location of the fire site. I must have skipped over it. I didn't mean to. Well, you know what? I think we took that slide out as it might be a little premature, but it is the area on the southwest corner, and you can see some red dots there. That is it. So in any event, I am joined by all of our consultants here this evening. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer. And I will reserve a little time after the public just in case there were some comments or questions that come up that we need to respond to. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Board Member, Commissioner Pinsurga.
Bonnie, about the master plan, there were several things that I really liked about it, and there were some areas that brought some concern. So let me say the positives first. I like that it's walkable. I like that there's plenty of green spaces. It's certainly connected. I can imagine being able to easily walk from one section to another or drive from one section to another. And I think it's a very much a good thing. You know, God knows we need more office spaces in our city. Those are all pros. I reached out to my constituents, and many of them were very concerned about the overabundance of residential units in our city. We have, on the other side of Congress, we have many apartment buildings being put up. They're not even finished. And we're not sure if we're going to be able to fill all of those units. So my question, I have multiple questions actually, but let's begin with, are we confident that those units can be filled if we add more residential? And the big elephant in the room is that any additional housing would increase traffic. What in this plan would mitigate the additional traffic?
So I'll start with, are we confident as to whether all
market.
of... Yes.
Where we are with the market.
We'll talk about the market. And, the market is fickle, so I could only wish I had a crystal ball. I will say that the numbers that are up here are maximum numbers. And the reason that we're phasing it is that there is an expectation that there'll be some absorption that will occur over a period of years. This is a long-term plan. This is not a short-term plan. So, and from phase 1 till the, phase 5 plan, most of those phases are mixed. So I think that we've given you a plan that will grow and move with the market, and the speed of completion of the plan will absolutely be related to your question, whether the market is absorbing what we have intended there. But no one is going to come in and commence development and spec residential at this point. They're only going to do it based on the current market conditions. Hence why we've given ourselves the flexibility per phase to do more than just residential. So I think I hope I covered that.
You answered the first part.
Okay.
Thank you.
As to your second question, and I'm sorry, repeat your second question.
Second question was, as we bring in more residential and more business, which, more business is great, but what are we going to do to mitigate the additional traffic?
So it's a little interesting, and I've been living a case study myself that occurred in Boca Raton. Boca Raton had an area that was an employment center, and it was all employment. The traffic inbound between 8 and 9, it was all coming into that particular section, and it's the old IBM section and what is around it. And after 5 o'clock, everything was going out. So what the city of Boca Raton did, surprisingly, because they're a pretty conservative place and they don't take many chances, and they certainly aren't inventive, but what they did do was inventive. They added 2,500 residential units, and the residents of Boca Raton were in shock when that occurred. But they did so having been presented some pretty significant data supporting that, in fact, the traffic will not worsen, it will improve. And so back in 2010, they did studies prior to any of that residential being there. They have recently done a study after all 2,500 units have been allocated, and about at least 1,500 of them are already constructed, and they found a reduction in traffic. And so we can ask ourselves why.
Very counterintuitive.
Yeah, why? Because some of the people that would have otherwise been commuting into that general office and employment center are now walking, riding their bike, or living next door to it. The other case that we don't realize, and Andrea Trotman is here, and she is a traffic engineer, and she's probably better equipped to explain this, but while everything was previously coming inbound all at the same time, now what you have are people living there who are going out. And so instead of dumping double the traffic on the road in the same direction, you're splitting, and the traffic is more diverse. While 50% of the people are coming inbound, 50% of the people are going outbound, and they're not in conflict with one another. So it happened to be a very successful case study, much to many people's surprise. And in fact, they are talking about potentially expanding that residential base further. So we believe the same concept applies here. When you bring people in here, you're going to bring in people that want to be in an urban village environment. They want to be where they can walk downstairs and go to the Starbucks. They may be people that work remotely. It's a different type of lifestyle than most of us are accustomed to, certainly different than what I am accustomed to. But it appears to be the way of the world and the way that the millennials and some of the younger populations, including my children, want to live. And it's a complete change to our lifestyle, but it appears to be happening all over the world. That's who we're expecting this village environment to appeal to.
If I may just have one more question while you're up there. Bonnie, looking ahead into the future, I've studied what's happening with other malls, even in Canada. There's a documentary about this. Many of them are converting into many forms, but it always includes some sort of experiential center, for the lack of a better phrase. They don't just want to go to the mall to shop, but they want to go to the mall to go, bowling. They want to do something fun to bring their friends and family. So does this plan allow for that? Do we have public spaces that allow for, what are those called? Farmers markets, right? Or art events on the weekends?
We absolutely do. What has really been done very, very well here is to create plaza areas, public spaces.
Can you show us approximately where that would happen?
I think I had a green slide up at one point.
You pointed, yeah, I saw one, but...
And I am really struggling
was
to
that
get
meant to
this
be
thing to move. Oh, yep.
On a field or...
Great. Okay, we'll stop there before I do anything else to screw up the screen. So the center of this village, so to speak, is where the circle is in the middle. That area, there's a very large area to the southwest of that. And even extending east, we believe that we're creating not only linear areas, but areas that are larger than that for exactly what you just described, Commissioner. The other thing about a bubble plan, and the city, I think, had the foresight with the SMU not to require specific site plans, but to require master plans. With a bubble plan, you have flexibility. Again, we're talking about maximums, and we're talking about a mix of uses that include pretty much everything. Retail is retail, office is office. Retail covers a lot of experiential type uses that would fit in that category. So we believe that what we have there will allow us to respond to market, grow with the market, and better serve the community.
Any other questions?
Thank you. That's it for me.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I wanted to the property owners and everyone working on the project, express my gratitude for what I believe is an extremely well thought out plan to revitalize kind of one of the most downtrodden pieces of property in the city, and certainly on the western side of the city. It is probably the largest impervious surface in the city. If you drive through there, I don't know what the parking standards were when it was built, but I don't know, I assume it was when malls were successful, but it just seems like a wasteland of concrete, and then this building is plopped in the middle of it. So nothing to be offensive to the property owners, but obviously you have a similar idea that it needs to be fixed because you're here. I think it's a great idea. The concern that Commissioner Penn-Circa brought forward with traffic is obvious. To me, that is the primary concern. All the rest of it really will be subjective. We've gotten a number of emails, I know, that myself and other commissioners, with people saying, I want to see this and I want to see that. It's a piece of private property. It's a piece of private property owned by 6 entities, so we have no legal right. And the fact that all those 6 entities have come together with a single plan, we need to understand that we need to facilitate the redevelopment of this project, not act as though this were town square where we have a lot more authority over it. So first and foremost, thank you to everyone. It is counterintuitive, the traffic issue, where people say you're building all this new stuff, traffic's going to increase. And it's true, it will increase relative to a decaying mall that is operating at 25 or 30% of what a more successful mall like down in Boca is. So inevitably there will be an increase in traffic, but when you compare it to if this mall were highly successful, you're right, and I've accepted that over years being up here, that residential doesn't generate as many trips as mass commercial, because mass commercial has hundreds or thousands of people in and out, whereas residential has a couple people in and out per unit, and they come at peak times. So I know that's something that the public is oft not willing to accept, but it is a broken mall trying to survive under a model that fell apart in the 90s. We have to support this redevelopment And I think it's a great mix. We talk about office space all the time, 130,000 feet of new office space. If someone came in and proposed that anywhere else in the city right now, we would be ecstatic about it. So we should be ecstatic about it here. We're approving rezoning hypothetically here. It is a very 1,000-foot view of what might happen. So I want to make sure the public knows that there's no approval taking place to do very specific things yet. And I welcome all input from anyone from the public, as we've already received, as I said. But I want to make sure the public understands that we're not approving a site plan. We're not approving specific buildings. We're saying that what everyone knows, that this property is in distress and it has to be fixed. And it is literally, other than Renaissance Commons and Cortina across the street, which are well on their way and almost completed, this is the biggest thing that will happen on the on the west side of the city forever now. This is all that's left. So I'm just excited and I'm happy to move forward with this. I know that the property owners want this to be successful, so whatever ultimately is proposed has their confidence, otherwise they wouldn't be putting their money into it. So again, thank you everybody, and I look forward to the dialogue that will take place through the rest of our time up here and continue into those later phases when new commissioners get to kind of pick up the ball and run with it.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner McCray.
Thank you. My concern with this whole project is pedestrian walkways, okay? I'm concerned about lighting, concerned about safety. Although we had one residents that live over in District 2 talk about Sarah Sims about the cameras, talking about they're watching them. Cameras deter crime. And I want to know, what are you all thinking about putting in place to help our PD department? The fire station is nice, but we need that PD out there. I'm just saying, because we're going to have more individuals out there. Well, when they come out there, we're going to have more bodies that we got to watch. I'm just saying, sure, fires, we don't want to have that many, we want to have any, really, but crime, I'm just saying, I think y'all need to kind of do something, with the PD department. If you put a substation or something out there, I'm just saying, I'm looking into the future too. So tell me, what are you all planning about doing with your lighting on these walkways, especially with the reserve back there? I'm just saying, where people want to do things that's not common among, human beings, can hide out there and do things that's not, You feel where I'm going?
No, I do, and that's a very good question. We're certainly going to be very, very sensitive to having adequate lighting out there. As there are 5 owners, they currently have REA agreements in place to serve the cross-parking and what they are sharing. Those agreements will be modified for purposes of pedestrian areas, maintenance of the new landscaping that will be installed, and a number of other things. Part of that will include appropriate lighting. That's something that we typically don't talk about at master plan. We certainly talk about it at site plan, but with 5 owners, I can assure you none of them want to be exposed to potential crime out there. So we have not just one person interested in dealing with that, but 5 groups. The other comment that I probably should have made earlier, your staff has done an incredible job with this. This is a very, very large site. It is an opportunity for the city. It's an opportunity for my client. And your staff has worked with us diligently. And it has been challenging, because whenever you're converting an albatross into something that you hope will be the shining star, there are a lot of little details. But we have talked about that, Commissioner. That's one of the details we've talked about. The fire substation is the other thing that we have talked about. And we have a lot of space out here that we certainly can work with staff to figure out where is the best spot for that. But we will definitely put that on the list.
Thank you. And this is for staff, especially Collins. I'm just saying, it's in the future. But water and sewer.
Yes, absolutely. We've been working with them on that. We've looked at the capacities. We're actually planning for the future as this develops. If we need some capacity, we're putting it into our utility plan, because we want this to be successful from a water and sewer. And also chilled water, we've offered them that utility. If they choose to do a central chilled water plant throughout the whole plant, we can offer that services too, and they're very interested in all of those. Again, it's a little bit premature, although we have looked at the densities on this site plan. I mean, this master plan, and our current utility system will support these maximum densities. So we're in good shape right now to support this, and we'll continue working with them on individual site plans.
Thank you.
You will see some easement changes coming to you, though, into the site, because we have easements all over it that need to be changed. So you'll see that as we work through some of these master plan things.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Romulus.
Right. I like the master plan. I like what is being done, and I've said in the past, it's very exciting that these 6 entities are willing to put their heads together and make this work. For me, what is always just at the forefront of my mind, especially when we're talking about development, is affordability and how we make it work so that we have a mixture of income abilities living in this development as it comes out of the ground. So what do you have to say to that?
Well, and I think, Hannah, you might want to... We've talked about this already, and we did so, really, we started that conversation in the comp plan section of that part of the process. I think your you haven't adopted yours yet? Okay, you have. Your workforce or your... It's voluntary. Yeah, we're going to... We've already started talking about it. Right now, we're not sure, other than Related's project, we don't know who else is going to be coming into it, but we expect to have a mix, a variety of not simply types, but values of housing. And we understand that you have a process in place in the city. Hannah's just reminded me that it is voluntary. We certainly intend to participate, but at this point I couldn't tell you which section or whether it would be spread throughout the process, but we have focused on that as well.
And nor do I need you to tell me which section. I know this is still just a master high-level view of things. I just want to know that it is at the forefront of your team's mind as well, because especially when you think about Boynton Beach, we are still one of the most affordable cities here in Palm Beach County, and I don't want that to change. I want people to still know that in all levels of income, they can afford to live here, and that we're not, pushing people out or in essence, really intensifying gentrification as it's happening all over the country. We don't want to be perpetuators of that. So that's why I ask, and that's why I want to make sure it's stated clearly for the public to understand that this is something that your team is considering and considerate of.
We are looking at it, absolutely. And our intent is, again, to have a variety of housing opportunities there, from workforce, labor force, on up to retirees. So I think you'll expect to see that as we go through the process, and we'll provide you with more detail then.
I do. And I just want to briefly say something. This will be a satellite star, not a shining star. Downtown should be the shining star. Just saying. Just saying.
Well, good point. Well said. Well said.
No offense, Commissioner Katz, Vice Mayor.
Constellation.
It's a constellation.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Next time I'll come back with a constellation.
Well, thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. Like I said, I was at the mall over the holiday season, and people still go there. I go there quite a bit, and it's enjoyable because it offers something that Boca doesn't offer. However, with this change, it's going to change its offerings. And so I'm very excited about the redevelopment. There was a bunch of conditions of approval where I'm assuming if we approve the site plan, the rezoning and the master plan, there's a lot of things that are not going to be coming in front of this commission, such as the traffic study, the parking study, the master sign program. And so I got a question more for staff, is that what are we as the commission approving now where we don't necessarily have knowledge of what's going to go happen in the mall after we give you the authority to say what's in front. So I don't know if the building department or... because I need someone to explain the conditions of approval a little bit for me.
We have staff.
Okay, we'll let Ed.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Ed Brees, Planning and Zoning Administrator. All of the phases of the project will come back before you, and they will have traffic-related studies with them. They have prepared a traffic study for the master plan.
Okay.
But again, as each component is developed, it will have a traffic study to show that they're staying within the limitations of the master plan.
Okay, and then for the master sign plan, is that something that we will approve, or is that something that staff approves?
That would be depending on the applicant. If the applicant brings it in as part of one of the site plans, yes. If they choose to do it after the site plans have been approved, then it typically is just a staff review.
Okay, and that's something that we could include, I guess, if we want to see what kind of signing.
If you want to speak with the applicant and ask them if they will bring it as part of one of the phases.
Yeah.
We've actually talked about that as well. I think our plan, particularly for the principal ingress and egress, is to have something presented to you for your review and approval. We have some, fun ideas that we'd like to run by the city, so it would be a good opportunity for you to get engaged with the project. So we don't have any problem with that. If you wish us to present that with our first site plan, I think our client would be happy to do so.
I would appreciate that.
Now, that wouldn't include internal signage that you would see on buildings for each of the users. It's really just project signage.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you. And then I guess one of the concerns that I have is that, we have a couple of bus transfer stations over at the Boynton Beach Mall. And it's something that, I see the roundabout, it's making sure that we can use this as a transportation hub so that if people want to go north, they can go to the mall and go to the Tri-Rail station, or hopefully you have bus rapid transit that takes you to West Palm Beach, and vice versa if you need to go south to Del Rey Tri-Rail or Boca for their new Brightline station. And so that's my main concern, is that we don't necessarily, it's all futuristic of the transportation study, and I understand that if we all plan on having one person per one car traffic, it's not going to be the best plan that it can be, because we know that people will be taking the buses and mass transit, because I did do it, and it's something that we need to start planning for so that you have the enhanced bus shelters. And so I guess that's something that is not necessarily with phase one, but when we start building the commercial aspect of it is where I'd like to see it. And the other thing is that over the summer, I know that the county, the city, and the property owner are having the talks to collaborate on the feasibility study for the arena. And that's still in the works, and hopefully after the first site plan, we'll have that feasibility study, so for the second or third phase that we can move forward with that and see how we can work together, because I do believe that there are extra trips available, and the point of the mall at one time was the entertainment complex, where you'd have to go to the mall to shop, otherwise it was a mail order catalog. And I remember how big the Montgomery Ward one was. And so it's interesting how the internet has took that over.
Age.
Huh?
You told your age.
I know, Montgomery Ward.
You're a little young for that.
And with that, it's something that we want to make sure that it is not just a place for business hours, it's something for after business hours. I was at the movie theater where they created a curfew of 6 p.m. that anybody under the age of 17 was not allowed with an adult, because of what happened the weekend after Labor Day, where 200 to 300 youths came to the movie theater. And so that's something that we want to program out in the mall, is kind of like Commissioner Penserga was saying, is that it is a space for everyone to go to for the weekend. And that's kind of what's going to be very exciting in Boynton Beach, is that we're creating dual spaces with the mall and with our downtown. So I'm very much excited to seeing everything, and hopefully you do it in the next 2 years so we can approve it.
I hope so too. Thank you.
All right. So may I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. I forgot to ask, is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this item and ask any questions of the developer? Seeing none? Any further questions or comments from the board? Seeing none? May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Romulus?
Aye.
Commissioner Penserga?
Yes.
Mayor Grant?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katz? Yes. Commissioner McCray?
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
And Jim, do we need a table for item B for the second reading of the ordinance?
You've done that in the past. You've done site plan with second reading.
So I think we're going to, if, Bonnie, is that okay? Or,
I'm sorry, we were...
so for item B, we're trying to approve that at the second reading of the ordinance.
Yeah, that would be fine, that's
Okay.
what...
So,
Motion to table.
Second.
all right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. Moving on to ordinance number 20001, second reading.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Land Development Regulations, Chapter 1, Article 2, Definitions, amending Chapter 1, Article 5, Housing Initiatives, Section 2, Workforce Housing Programs, providing for conflict severability codification and an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Thank you.
Discussion.
So can we get Mr. Rump, can we get an update of what the final report is? Are we planning, is there any changes from the first reading?
No, good evening. Mike Rump, your Development Director. Enthusiastic to have this before you again for second reading, but no, there are no changes. We have researched some of the information you talked about last time. We could present that, but no, there's been no changes to the ordinance since it was last presented to you.
And so my question is that let's say nobody from the mall wants to use this ordinance, nobody from the downtown town square project wants to use this, or nobody from Ocean One or the villages. Are there any other future developments that you're aware of that may use the workforce housing?
Well, no, I can't predict development. That's
Okay.
going to be up to individual developers. That's why the housing work group was put in place, because there's other mechanisms and incentives and LDR amendments, and we even plan on kind of doing a forensic on development costs to see where else we can address perhaps hurdles, incentives, and things like that that may entice housing of such needed housing. And dollars, and if they aren't in the form of units, we hope to get more dollars through dedications to assist our community improvement programs.
Okay. And so, it's tough for me because I don't, I hope I'm wrong that people use this workforce housing ordinance, but nobody's ever used the workforce housing ordinance in Boynton Beach. I feel that the in lieu of price is too high because it's better that we have the in lieu of price than no workforce housing, or I guess the additional housing, because that also increases the supply, which lowers the pricing of things. So I'm kind of on a quandary right now because this is something that we may have to vote on again in a year or 2 years, and we may miss the opportunity for certain projects because we're not enticing or incentivizing developers to use the workforce housing. And so that's why, I wanted to ask the commission here, are you okay with lowering the in lieu of prices? Because the worst case scenario is that the city receives money where we could use that funds for workforce housing or to create our housing authority, which this city sorely lacks. And we have learned from Palm Beach County Housing Authority that they have not necessarily put the city's interest over the past 30 years forward. And so that's kind of where I think that we should keep the rates as they were before. And if somebody gives us that cash in lieu of in the next 2 years, that we can change it to raise it higher versus nobody uses it and that we created this workforce housing that isn't used. So.
That sounds fine to me.
Okay, so then we would need to have that as a part of the motion for the original rate.
Mayor, I'm not in agreement. We spent a long time going back and forth on this last discussion, and after speaking with staff, the explanation for why the in lieu of fee is so high is simply because we want to encourage developers to actually build workforce housing or affordable units within their development rather than taking the in lieu buyout. So I felt the same way initially with you, where I wanted to see it lowered, but the carrot here that we're trying to dangle is we want to have the affordable housing units built within the development rather than to just get a cash out and, parcel some people over here because they can't afford to live over there. So I'm okay with it as is, especially after speaking with staff and getting the understanding of why they placed the bar so high. And I think it's a step in the right direction. And as you previously stated, we didn't see any changes from the way the ordinance was written before. So how do we know if we keep it the same way it'll work, or whether we raise it, it'll work? Frankly, at this point, I don't really think it hurts us or, in any way by raising it and seeing how it works. And if anything, like we said, it's really just the fact that it's voluntary. We can't force them one way or the other. So if there's a reason why they would particularly want to take advantage of it, I'd at least like to just experiment and see. So I'm fine with leaving it the way staff has written it.
Okay. And so the reason also for my change is we heard yesterday regarding One Ocean, how Boynton Beach does not get the same rents that Delray, Boca, West Palm Beach does. And that, any comparison to any of those workforce housing ordinances, we have to take in effect that the prices here of those rents, of those sales, is much lower. And so are we collectively, 25% lower than what is in Delray or West Palm Beach or the county? Or is this, what is their in lieu of rate compared to our in lieu of rate?
We don't have those numbers. We do have some information. We do? Hold on. I'm sorry, we do.
Okay.
Delray is 160,000.
For sale?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jupiter is 200,000. And Palm Beach County is 100,000 for a single family and 100,000 for a townhome. 75,000 for multifamily units.
Is that for renting and sales or just
Simple.
Say one more time.
Fee simple, except for the multifamily would probably be rental.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Let me also add, you had asked me a question, and because similar to what Bonnie had said, we don't have the crystal ball on the market where things are going. But I will say that over the past 6 to 12 months, we've met with developers of the next generation of larger projects and mixed-use projects or larger multifamily projects downtown. This is mostly south of Boynton Beach Boulevard and Ocean Avenue, where there's land assemblies that have been going on. So, and in talking to them, density and height was critical to get past to make their numbers work with land values. And that's probably the best incentive we can offer right now is increased density. And I think that would more than cover what it's going to cost them to provide the needed units. So there is a chance, more than what we're seeing right now in the approvals. There are more developments to come.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Is there any further comments from the board? Seeing none. Any from the audience? Seeing none. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Pincirga?
Yes.
Mayor Grant?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katz? Yes. Commissioner McCray?
Yes.
Commissioner Romulus?
Aye.
Vote is 5-0.
All right. Thank you. Moving on
Thank you, staff.
to unfinished business, continued discussion of the city manager's compensation in connection with her performance evaluation, which was conducted at the December 3rd, 2019 commission meeting.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I'm Julie Oldberry, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. Back on the December 3rd meeting, we did have the evaluation of our city manager, and at that time you had requested information from me regarding salary survey for area municipalities to see kind of where our city manager stands in comparison with others. So I did provide that information to you in your backup, and I also provided a recommendation from a human resources perspective of where I believed a starting point of a minimum discussion could begin. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or help you throughout.
Commissioner McCray, you'd like to begin?
Sure, I'd like to begin. I want to say first, thank you for your survey, okay? But, you know, and Lori, I want to thank you for the time that you put in here at the city. I thank you for the things that I've given you. Okay, but, you know, I cannot sit up here. Whether Lori is the lowest or the highest or whatever, and I cannot sit up here and say that I could, you know, with good conscience, increase the city manager's salary by $40,000 to $45,000. Okay, first of all, this city here, we're plagued with the fire assessment. District 2 is very hell unhappy with fire assessment. We can't really afford it. The red light camera, people are telling us all the time, why did y'all bring that back in? I was the one that brought it back in, okay? Utility taxes, we've had an increase here in the city. Water and sewer, we've increased that. We looked at the employees of this city. We said that we would give them a 3 to 5% increase. Now, if we give the city manager a $40,000 to $45,000 salary increase, that's going to knock hell the morale out of the employees of this city that's in the trenches, working daily to help us look good. Now, I have another gripe. I own property here in this city. My house is not occupied. I have to pay $69 or $70 per month. That's for water and sewer. Nobody's there. This is what we got on the books, and I'm just saying, you do the math. I've been doing this for 3 years. Okay, the median income for people that live in District 2 is about $45,000. I asked this employee, the manager, the group that's sitting up here, to go around and go to meetings and stuff, because they said the life expectancy of a city manager is really like about 6 years. They're saying that, well, she's not being paid like Delray. Delray, within less than a year, hired a new city manager. If the city manager here wasn't happy, she could have went and applied for Delray. This is the way I feel. Let me go ahead and finish. We have people in here in this city looking for work. For whatever reason, they can't find work. Okay, Lori, we have 2 assistant city managers, you know.
We only have one right now.
Let me finish. We have 2 assistant city managers that started out this year. Mr. Howard was succumbed to death, okay, unfortunately. But we had 2. I'm not concerned about what they're getting and stuff, but I'm just saying we need to start, being real focused on what is happening here in this city. District 2 is one of the poorest sections here in this city. We're plagued with things that we cannot even afford. I am not going to sit up here my last term. I'm not going to do it. And say that I'm willing to give the city manager a $40,000 to $45,000 raise. And go down here and say, they're going to say, what the hell did you do? That's wrong. First of all, Lori, I'd like to know how many department heads do we have here in this city?
I have to count through. Police, fire, public works, utilities, floor, library, recreation.
IT, clerk, we have about 13 different departments.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me keep rolling. Okay. What is the starting salary of a police here for the city of Boynton, the starting salary?
I think we moved it up to a little over 58,000.
For police, 56,000.
Okay, 56. Okay, 40 to 45,000, that's another police officer, which we need desperately here in District 2. I'm just saying. My take is that I cannot approve $40,000 to $45,000. I will not vote upon it, but I'm willing to stay within the range of whatever we gave the employees. I'm just saying to keep the morale here. Sure, she's doing an excellent job, but nobody's doing the job that I got to say that I'm going to give them a $40,000 to $45,000 raise and put that on the back of citizens in District 2 whose average income is less than $45,000. I cannot do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor.
So I'll take a polar opposite position on this. I've had the good fortune in the past couple of years of, one, getting the opportunity to serve on this commission in a leadership role, and then two, serving as the president and CEO of the Classroom Teachers Association, the Teachers Union in Palm Beach County, and these types of discussions happen all the time in private sector business with leadership salaries versus worker salaries, as well as in the public sector, in the school district, the superintendent's pay versus a starting teacher's pay, et cetera. That being said, again, as the leader of the largest union in Palm Beach County, over 7,300 members, almost 13,000 employees that I help represent through our contract negotiations, I constantly tell them that it's difficult to compare the leader of an entity to the workers and try to keep everyone in parity. And it's one thing in the private sector when the CEO makes $150 million and an employee's making $50,000 a year, but it is a large increase, but we're not bumping it up to a level that I'm uncomfortable with. I can say from the 4+ years, however long I've been up here, that my appreciation for quality work and leadership cannot be described. Because again, as someone who now works as the leader of a different organization, I see what a good employee and a bad employee is worth to an organization and what instability can do to an organization. In the school district, we've had something like 6 superintendents in the past 9 years, something crazy like that. There is a cost associated with churn, and Delray, as wildly successful as Delray is, imagine if they had a city manager for the past 6, 7, 8 years that stably helped run that city, how much better they could be. And I feel like that is what the current city manager in Boynton Beach provides to us and to the taxpayers. I know as someone who came up here fairly young, with no political experience, and I think that some of my colleagues, could echo this. I shudder to think if we had had bad city managers, or in the past 4 years had 2 or 3 city managers and had to go through this process of picking a new person, the cost to the city would be exorbitant, not just financially, but in terms of the direction that we've gone in. I don't think I can't put a price tag on that type of leadership. In the years we've been up here, there have been no crises. The people who have been put in leadership positions underneath the city manager, to me, have all been superb and only further strengthened her ability and our ability to help run this city. It is a large increase. We just went out on a limb and gave a significant pay increase to our police officers because they deserved it. And people could easily have said, well, wait a minute, you're giving 20 to 30% raises to these police officers. They do amazing stuff, but 20 to 30%, everyone else is getting 3 or 4. But the point of that was that they needed to be paid commensurate to the other officers in the county in order to retain the quality talent that we have, to reward their hard work. And I think the same lesson for me applies to the city manager. I don't want to see her leave for those other opportunities because she's qualified and talented enough that she could have applied to Delray or could have gone to one of the other 10,000 cities in the country and gone through the process when they're hiring and gotten picked because she is that good. I understand the optics of such a large increase, but this is about bringing the pay to a level that's commensurate with her contemporaries of like constituted cities in Palm Beach County. So I'll leave it at that, I think that our success over the past 4 years and our continued success over the next couple of years, that credit may fall to the elected body because we're up here making votes and our names are in the newspaper. But being honest, it would be hard for anyone to deny that the majority of the success and certainly almost all of the work falls to the city manager and her staff. So for that, I'm interested in talking about a raise in that $240,000 level to reward her, to retain her, and to continue the trend of fixing pay in the city. We did it for police, we've done it for fire, we're doing it for the city manager, and I want to continue to do it for those employees who are not in those groups. I can tell you right now, we're almost about to go to impasse with the school district to try to get to 4% raises for teachers, and the city manager budgeted 4% raises pretty much for the employees of the city, which in this day and age is a solid raise for rank and file employees. I support moving it up because we need to keep her. We need to continue working. Things are going well. Everyone should get rewarded for doing a good job. And when you're not paid nearly as much as people who do the exact same job for you, 5 miles this way or 2 miles that way in a similar city, I feel like it's our obligation, and I'm willing to commit to do something significant here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pensurga.
Vice Mayor, you said many points that essentially took it out of my mouth, but I have one more additional point of view that I want to add to the situation. I'll begin with the question. Lori, how many female city managers do we have in this county of comparable size of a city?
Comparable size, I think just one, which would be Faye Johnson, that was just appointed.
Other than
Speak into the microphone, Lori. We can hear you.
Faye Johnson was just appointed after serving as an interim for the administrator of West Palm Beach. Other than that, it's just myself. Yeah, then it's probably Green Acres will be the next size city, which is at 40,000.
So that's the point of view that I'm taking with the situation. It's not just about making sure that she's paid commensurate with her peers, but I don't want our city to be known as a city where we have a female city manager that's not getting paid similarly to her male counterparts. I think this is a gender inequality pay situation. I can't tell you how many people, residents, elected officials from other cities that look up to Lori. She takes leadership positions in her city manager association, and I want to make sure that, Lori, you're not getting paid less to your male counterparts. What you're asking for, when I look at these numbers, when I look at the data, is within range. It's comparable to her peers, male. And because I say male, because she doesn't have any other female counterparts, with the exception of Faye, who just got appointed. Ms. Johnson. So Lori, I am in favor of giving you a raise. You've done an excellent job, and the raise represents not just your current performance, but your long-term performance, and that's why you've been here for so many years. And we don't have the kind of turnover that they have in Delray and other places. So there's something to be said about that.
For myself, it's looking at the total of the prices that are above, where I believe Delray is the highest at 277, and somehow Belle Glade is able to afford $235,000 for their city manager. We're much bigger than Belle Glade, and they don't necessarily oversee the fire, police, sewer, and water. And this is something where I think we need to be commensurable with the things that we're doing. One of the questions is that I know that we did this last year. What was the increase from last year to this year?
In a percentage?
Percentage or number?
5%.
And so what was that number?
The dollar value, you mean?
Yeah.
Hold on. About 9,000.
And then we also increased or maxed out her retirement benefits, I believe, as well, correct?
We brought it out to the maximum rate, yes.
What was it? So how much of the retirement?
26. For 2020, the IRS allows for 26,000.
No. What did we do? And
I think the year before it went to 24,000.
What was it? It went from 24 to 26?
This year it would go from,
No. How much did we pay before we
oh,
increased?
I'm sorry, I think it was like 18.5, so 18.5
So there was-
minus 24.
So is around a 13,000, 14,000 wage increase total. The city manager mentioned that, she would also be willing to accept money into her HSA. And so I feel that that's something that is very beneficial, and that's something that we should max out for her for the $5,000 that we can, and that we're somewhere in the middle of everything. 10% sounds good to me, plus the 5% or 5,000 HSA, and that puts her more in the middle, where that's the Village of Wellington. That's their salary based. And it's kind of like, it's a tough ask for the 40,000. Commissioner McCray is correct with that, because we do have a lot of areas where 20,000 is all they make for that year. And any sort of increase that we pay goes down to our residents and our citizens and our businesses. And so we also are going to be doing this again next year. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is that the 220,000 plus the other $5,000 for the HSA.
Mayor, say that again?
220,000. No, I'll do it this way. 225,000 plus the other 5,000 for the HSA.
So can you just put all that in figures? What does all that mean?
I don't know what the percentage is, but she's currently at 200,796. So if we go to 225,000, that's a 12.5% increase.
What was the HSA? What was it before, and what are we taking it to now?
I think it's zero. It was zero before.
The city contributes, I think, $1,000 for each
1,000.
employee, and then I do the rest.
So then that would go from 1,000 to 5,000.
Julie, can you explain that? Because all of our other employees are getting 1,000 towards their HSA, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So you would be contributing 5,000 for
Can you
under
explain
mayor grants.
why you're making the suggestion of max? Is that the maximum allocated amount or something?
Basically, is that it allows for our city manager to get tax deferred increase.
Why the 5,000? Is that the maximum allocated amount? Why 5,000 is what I'm asking.
That's what my discussions with the city manager was, the maximum amount that I was told.
The IRS actually would max for my age, which we won't mention, just recently, would be 8,000. I think 8,000 is what the IRS maximum allowed.
Okay.
We had just discussed.
Yeah.
Felt, I was fine with that.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. So that it would be 225,000, and we would increase the 1,000 to 5,000.
So I'll chime in on everything that's been said. I absolutely agree that Lori is an exemplary city manager. I also know just from my walks around the county and my different roles, she is a beacon for other city managers to look to and follow the example of what Boynton is doing here. We've definitely improved our name, our reputation, not just here in Palm Beach County, but all across the state, I believe. So I say that, I preface that with saying, to then say that, it's also a matter of balance. It's a balancing act. As a woman, I do not take anything away from Lori in terms of saying that we should, not make her commensurate with her counterparts. That is not the discussion that's being had here. It's more of a, financial feasibility conversation. I just feel that as a city, though we are large in size, population-wise, our budget and our income compared to some of the other cities that we're basically ranking salaries with is not commensurate. So the balance has to be there. So we can't just necessarily look at cities, population sizes, and salaries of other city managers and say our city manager is not in line. It's also, well, how much are those cities making? How much are we making? And where do we fall in line? That actually was not included in the table that I'm looking at here. I think that would have been valuable information to add that would have helped make this conversation also more enlightened. So in my personal opinion, I'm willing to kind of go into the middle ground here where I feel I would be okay with the $225,000 salary bump. I would keep the HSA at $1,000 where it is now, and that's what I would be okay with.
You said 225?
Correct. Because I feel like that would put her with Wellington. Wellington is similar in terms of nearly population size, and I'm not exactly sure what their annual budget is, but I'm assuming it's either similar or more, depending on their equestrian, attraction and everything like that. But I again, Boynton Beach, though we are the third largest city, we are not necessarily one of the richer cities. So we also need to make sure we are balanced, keeping that in balance, and making sure that we kept, take that into account. So that would be my input on this conversation.
And so, if that's your case, and if there isn't any other comments, I'll entertain the motion. Vice Mayor.
So I'll put forth a compromise between the two numbers on the table and offer a brief explanation, an entertaining explanation to try to bring a little bit of levity to the tension here. You've got a few people looking at that 240 number, and a few people have proffered the 225 number. I'd like to put forth a motion for 235 to split the difference between the two factions up here. And the best comparison I can come up with that's apropos for the moment is that Tom Brady is a free agent. He's played in New England for a number of years at the top of his game, and for a number of years he took a discount. He was willing to cut his own salary to benefit the team, and he did that during good times. The way I look at this, and right now he's potentially going to be a free agent, and if he stays in New England, he said he's not going to take a discount because they are not as good. So it's not as clear that he's going to have some great success like he has in the past. With our city manager, I feel like we got her at a discount during the bad times, and now we're in better times, and it would be appropriate, in my view, to do something significant for her. So she took the discount when things were tough. Things have gotten better because of her leadership. I think she deserves more. So my motion will be a compromise between those two numbers, a flat 235, leave the HSA as is, $235,000 is the motion.
All right. Do I have a second?
Is there any, let me think this through.
If you don't have a second, it's going to die.
I will second it.
Okay. Now, is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Moving on to future agenda items. Anything?
Excuse me, since we passed that, my comment is that, I'm glad that, the three of you who has a fluent segment of this city, voted for that. I'm just saying, we are the ones that have the more or less like, I'm going to go ahead and say it because I'm coming out office anyway, most like the poverty section of this city, okay, and you all are saying what a great job Lori is doing. There's times that Lori and this staff needs to be out of those offices, riding around in cars and looking at the derelicts of District 2, I'm just saying, tires, debris, and all that other stuff. I am calling, and that's not my job to make phone calls when they need to be doing their own job. I'm just saying, if she getting this kind of money, she needs to pick up her avenue and say, I need to do a little bit more. I'm not satisfied. Thank you, for the record.
All right. Thank you. Seeing no more further comments, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Meeting's adjourned.